The best of the best get set to battle underneath the lights for the Extreme Motorsports 99.com's 2019 edition of the Ricmotech Cup Series. Good evening and welcome to tonight's first race of the 2019 season and season number 9 for the top drivers in all of Extreme Motorsports here on LSR TV and the iRacing Esports Network. We're here in beautiful Kentucky at Kentucky Speedway under the lights this beautiful Thursday. I'm Justin Prince alongside Kyle Hayer with Brett Wheeler in the production truck. For tonight's action, the best drivers in all the series look to start things off strong here tonight for their season and prove they have what it takes to try and win a championship, Kyle.
Absolutely, and again, welcome to the first race of the season. And when we start a season, it's all about learning about the other drivers in the field. You're stacking yourself up against more than 25 opponents tonight, and no one really knows how everyone's going to react when the green flag drops. It's going to be a learning experience, and it's going to be an all-out brawl through the end of 150 laps this evening.
We got a heck of a lot to discuss for tonight, but all the drivers are getting ready to step onto the racetrack and into their cars for the first race of the 10-race regular season. For season number 9, let's take a look at how those starters line up after qualifying. Alan Fox had the fastest time in qualifying by just 2/1000ths of a second over Tommy Haynes to set up the front row, while the rest of the group was all within a tenth of a second in the first 15 positions. Michael Moore starts in third with Jay Pryor in fourth, and Morris will start alongside Mike Franklin's number 82 machine in row number 3, with John Wimbish and Travis Pryor in row 4. Rounded at the top 10, Hunter McDaniel and David Elliott Kyle. Pardon me there. Adam Eisenhower will start 11th with John Sterling in the 12th position. David Weishart and Tyler Hallman in 13th and 14th position. Nick Hunt will start alongside Rob Haynes with Jerry Glenn, Joshua Gillen, Darren Clement, and Gary May inside the top 20. Rounding out the drivers that recorded times was Bobby Tinch and Randy Perdue. The drivers that didn't record times in qualifying and do not get a bonus point because of that are Bryce Senesac and Davey Hendricks. To round out the 24 drivers on the starting grid, there was also one that did not make qualifying, and Mike Romreiner. He will not start tonight's race. 3 drivers will be but in the control booth for tonight's race.
Absolutely, and the start of this race is going to be an unknown. Everyone's going to floor that throttle down, and at the first couple laps, you'll be able to keep that throttle pinned to the floor as they make their way around this 4-corner oval. Now, we're also going to see maybe 2 and 3 wide, but again, in the rules, you can't go 3 wide until the exit of turn 2, so you're going to have to be a little bit patient at the start.
Absolutely, you don't want to be too aggressive, especially with the first race on top of that, because with this package, it could be a dogfight to see who will be able to get up towards the front early on. Alan Fox is the control car. He must wait for the pace car to take all 4 tires off the racing surface before he can start things off. He'll start on the bottom side of the number 73 machine. He's up and away, and the 2019 Ricmotech Cup Series is underway from Kentucky.
We have to wait until the exit of turn 2 to go 3 wide, but already people trying to get themselves sorted out and back into line. You're going to want to be on the inside group for the first couple laps, but all the way into the first corner, feel getting themselves sorted out to head to the back straightaway.
150 laps are set to take place here tonight in Kentucky, and the drivers have already settled down to just 2 wide. Joshua Gillen had the worst of the starts. He started 18th in the back of the field, but for the top 3 drivers on your screen, Haynes trying to use the bottom line, Moore along with Pryor using the middle line. They go side by side for the battle for second.
Behind them, Mike Franklin in the 82 went way wide in turns 3 and 4, but now he's outside of the 7 of Ed Morris as they make their way down into turn 1. And just behind the 56 of John Wimbish. He's trying to the outside lane here early, but probably a bit too early to get grip out there.
Yeah, it looked like he dropped a little bit of time actually on that higher line. Let's talk about the differences in terms of the racing lines as this early race goes on and drivers cycle for positions such as that battle for second. What are the lanes we might expect tonight as the race goes on that will be the preferred lines from short run compared to long run?
Well, I think the inside line's probably where you're going to want to be early because that's where the grip level is. But as the grip dies off, you might have the opportunity to move up the racetrack. But it's really kind of an unknown here, racing here in under the lights for the first time this season. It's less about the lines and more about the people you're racing against and where they're going to go, because you have to keep an eye out for that arrow push that you get behind another driver. The 82 is way up high again.
And that time it was Mike Frankel, and yes, that ended up going way high. He was side by side with the number 7 machine, but they nearly made contact. In fact, got a slight touch of left front wheel damage, it looked like, towards the fender, I should say. He, however, at the stripe, he did gain a position overall, but did lose some time compared to where he was. He'll hold on to the quarter panel of John T. Wimbish for the time being. But a couple laps into 150 laps here today for the Extreme Motorsports 99.com's Cup Series tonight, sponsored by Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment. The series, of course, 10 race regular season, fixed setups, 75% fuel, and if you damage your car, well, you gotta finish with said car, essentially. You are not allowed, of course, to get any fast repairs as the event goes on tonight, as the battle on the track continues to shape up for 7th.
Yeah, you just mentioned the 82, who's all the way up against the wall, but he's actually been one of the only drivers to stay up there the last couple laps, and I'm curious to see how this works out, and it looks like he's actually staying even with the 56 of Wimbish as he exits turn 4, so maybe he's found some speed up there early, something I didn't expect to see this early in the night.
Battle for 3rd place, heating up Michael Moeller with the car to the inside. That is going to be the 80 machine of Jay Pryor. That's going wheel to wheel using the bottom line, but he has to get out of the gas, can't get up to the high side with Moeller up there. He'll drop back to 4th position. That's one of the main features, Kyle, with this package is it's hard to pass, very hard to pass, and you'll see examples such as that.
And you mentioned it's hard to pass, but, you know, sometimes it's the inside line's a preferred line to use, but you can't complete a pass down there, but you really can't go the long way around either. I've always found that the high side is a great place to defend your position if the guy behind you is quicker, because it's so hard to stay in the throttle in the bottom lane.
Especially once the tires start wearing down on these cars, it's going to get harder and harder and harder to hold on to full throttle, as we've seen many times in the early portions of runs with this package. But right now, the top 6 positions are all single file for the time being on the racetrack to try and figure things out. This is going to get interesting, though, this event goes on, I think, Kyle, to see how the strategies play out.
Yeah, I think so. The strategy for sure, but also, you know, you mentioned the 75% fuel limit. I think a lot of drivers maybe haven't considered, if they haven't been driving the Cup car lately, how much more fuel you're going to burn with the extra drag. Now, we've already noticed that with the lower power, you know, you'd think that you'd be saving fuel, but because the rear wing on these things is about 45 feet tall, you actually burn more fuel than you did in the past.
And that is called a spoiler, by the way, but you can see we're on board with your race leader and Alan Fox. One of the things with this package, too, on iRacing at least, is the ability for drivers behind to utilize the draft and pull in. It looks like Haynes, with that draft, was able to get nearly a 10th quicker last time by. He's reeling in the race leader in Fox as he dives to the inside line. Can't get to the quarter panel ever as he gets back out of the gas into the high line out of 4.
We were talking about that aero push earlier too, so maybe the 17 is trying to get that nose a little bit lower in the corners, but you can't go too low. He hit that apron, so he might start searching around to find a quicker line, but at the moment, still in line. The 27 of Michael Muller is in behind him, as well as Jay Pryor in the 80. He's looking pretty strong early, and has caught this front group of 3.
Ed Morris has also kept up with them, along with Travis Pryor in that top 6. The second group led by Mike Franklin at the moment. Most of the drivers staying calm and steady for the time being. Moore, though, in 3rd, slides up the racetrack in the number 27 Ford Mustang. Opens up the inside line now for Pryor. That's going to be interesting to see if he can get it to work. It looks like he's going to try and push Tommy Haynes from behind now with some of the drafts. Side by side for the race lead. Coming out of turn number 2. Preferred line, though, by Fox.
Wheel to wheel on the back straightaway between the leaders, Alan Fox and Tommy Haynes, but Haynes doesn't get the run out of the corner. He needs to get past that 73, so he'll get back in line. And out of the bottom, I think that's the 27 of Muller behind him, diving even lower to get some air on his nose. Now, actually, that's the 80 of Pryor that has worked his way up into 3rd.
And Pryor has worked his way up to 3rd because he opened up that bottom line down the backstretch. Starting to become a revolving door. He's now taking the middle line, it looks like. Able to get by was Ed Morris. Travis Pryor also falls on by as the 27 scrapes the wall. He drops back to 6 and loses a little bit of speed. Avoided some damage, however, on his Ford.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is tear up your stuff this early in the race, so he's got to be careful not to make that position any worse, as we see that battle for the lead is now 3 cars between the 73, the 17, and the 80 on this front straightaway, and Haynes looks back to the inside off into turn 1.
Haynes trying to send it in deep, getting a little bit of a push from Pryor from behind with the draft. But once again, with the outside line, being able to get on the gas. You're able to squeeze down the driver down low, and that's what helps Fox able to hold on for now. But it looks like Haynes is still trying to use that bottom line as hard as he can to try and make this pass work. Not being patient, though, is Pryor.
Yeah, you saw Pryor searching around on the back straightaway to try to find which line was going to be the quickest one. He's going to choose the 73 of Fox and push him back to the lead, and he's going to take over second spot, but has to defend from that 17 who's hard charging on the bottom.
And Jay Pryor still holding on in the Pryor Racing sponsored machine. Still side by side now for second. Still falling behind, though, with that draft, though, is Morris and Pryor. That'll also start to heat up for sixth position as that shapes up. But Pryor trying to run fast in his Chevrolet in the number 80 on the high line. Can't get quite by, though, for second. It looked like he checked up and back behind the rear end of Fox.
And we're about 15 laps into this run now, and this is when your tires start to go away and you kind of learn what you have to race with. And as you see this hornet's nest up towards the front, you have to be careful that when the tires burn off, you're not going to slide up the racetrack and get into somebody. And we see that 80 and Pryor just continuing to push the 73, and he's going to dive to the inside now in turn 3.
The Primetime Motorsports machine still holds on to the race lead. But the battle now heats up, including for third position, because Morris is now side by side with the 17 machine of Tommy Haynes. He tries to prevent going backwards. Travis Pryor still waits behind all of this as this has been going on. Everyone has ditched the bottom line, it looks like now all of a sudden through 1 and 2, except for that 17, and you can see the difference down the backstretch in the speed you get off the corner.
It's really an 11-car breakaway up front here. This was just a 3-car battle, but now we have half the field in it right now as they're lined up nose to tail out of turn 4. The 73 is going to get that 80 car out of his mirror and to the right side on the front straight, side by side for the lead.
And Pryor backs off, can't get to the quarter panel quite yet on the high side. This time, indeed, he can, in fact, to the entrance of turn number 1. Pryor floors it at 158 miles an hour. New race leader, Jay Pryor.
Now we're starting to see, we talked about lines before the race. Which one is going to prevail? It looks like that outside lane has a bit more speed in it at the moment. And we're going to see where the rubber gets laid down. But a relatively cool evening that's going to help the grip all over the racetrack.
Yeah, right now, track temperature 84 degrees Fahrenheit, 81 degrees Fahrenheit with clear blue skies above Kentucky Speedway this evening here in Sparta, Kentucky. But also into second spot, Ed Morris, Travis Pryor to third. Fox has fallen off the table as he's all the way back to fifth position as the revolving door opens above him.
You see that machine sliding backwards, and he's just stuck on the bottom right now, and I wasn't really expecting the bottom lane to go away this quickly in this race, but that seems like Kentucky is one of those higher line racetracks that you can utilize that line, and he's got to get himself back up there. You see him forcing his way right in front of Muller. He's going to take that line away. Muller says, no, I'm going to go to the outside of here.
The Downforce Motorsports machine having to get off the gas, in fact, to avoid the back end of Fox. Fox able to weasel his way up to the lane for now, but actually squeezes down Wimbish as they go 3 wide for the position. So Fox not able to hold off Muller's momentum, it looked like. Muller now forced all the way up to above the second seam to keep the position.
3 wide out of turn 4. They've sorted it out now, but that Fox machine just continues to slide backwards. He's middle 3 wide again. Things are just not going the way he wanted. He was definitely quick on the fresh tires, but as they wear out, looks like he's lost his speed.
And that's very important with this package because the less tire where you can have with the car, the more quicker you're going to be, of course, towards the end of the run. Especially with this package, it punishes you really if you have to get into the brake or less out of the gas to turn the corner. And it looks like for Fox, with some of that clean air, he has fallen off a cliff to the 32-second bracket. That's already 2 seconds of fall off for him compared to his competitors that are still in the 31.7s.
Now we're going to see how much worse that gets. You and I were talking prior to the broadcast about the tire fall off, how it seems to stabilize midway through the run. Well, we're working lap number 21. We're almost to the halfway point in this run. And I think we might see the tire stabilize, but I guess we'll see who's hurting their stuff now and who's conserving it for later.
One of the things with this package, on top of having more downforce and more on throttle time, is the difference in the fuel strategies. That's something to watch for. But first things first, the battle for second, starting to shape up again because Travis Pryor wants to make it a 1-2 for the Pryor last name drivers. The 81 machine dives his way to the inside. Can he clear Ed Morris on the exit? Yes, indeed, as he pulls up the slide job.
It looked like Ed Morris gave him plenty of room on the bottom there. I thought Morris would prevail on that outside lane, but he gave enough room to the 81 that he didn't have to hold the wheel tight on exit, and that let the 81 of Travis Pryor on through. So Morris will slip to third, and here comes Tommy Haynes back in the 17. He battled for the lead early, and he's trying to get himself back up into the fight now.
As I was trying to say with fuel strategy, that's going to be interesting. You mentioned we're approaching the halfway already this run. Again, 75% fuel totals for the Ricmotech Cup Series this season. How does that affect the strategy for these drivers? When do you expect them to pit? Because one, it's more downforce and more on throttle time, which affects the fuel totals. But second, you've got less fuel in the car that you can fill in. When do we expect to see the cars pit tonight?
I'd say lap 40 is when your window would open. I wouldn't say we'd go past lap 50 at all. I think that 10-lap window between 40 and 50 is where we're going to see most of the field. You might see some people try to stretch it out all the way to the end of that window. You might see some people try to pit a little early. We noticed about the 2-second worth of drop-off. You could see some undercuts here to try to get some track position because everyone's so tight as we watch a battle for 6th of Muller and Wimbish out of turn 2.
It's getting very dicey. In fact, with that battle for 6th position, McDaniel tried to get underneath. Wimbish nearly made contact, in fact, in that battle as well. It's getting really dicey with the Havre Casinos machine trying to move his way. Can't get back to the high side, however, as Hunter McDaniel tries to fiercely fight on the outside line. It's getting really aggressive for this battle for position.
And as the race goes on, we get laps under our belt. You're going to see that aggression level just continue to climb as everyone gets comfortable with each other. Again, this is the first race of the season. A lot of these people have never raced with each other before. So they're just trying to get used to how everyone else races. And so far, so good. We made it 25 laps without a yellow, and it looks like we're going to continue that way for a while.
I think so. It's been very clean so far. We've seen a couple of cars, yes, scrape the wall here and there. But other than that, everyone's been giving each other space. They were told to leave room and respect the drivers tonight. We're seeing a great deal of that respect here this evening, it looks like, in the first part of this race. 26 out of 150 laps down, 124 and a half distance to go here in tonight's race. But let's say you're drivers in this second group right now. You're right now, at this point, actually losing track of guys up in front of you like Franklin and the leaders right now that are still in the 31-second bracket. What can you do to try and find a way to get by, to gain up positions and try and not get held up by the side drafting that happens when you're battling like this?
Well, I think one thing you could do is really not race so hard. We're so early in this race. It's 150 laps. We're only 27 in. You might as well take your time and back out of this just for a couple laps and let your tires cool down and let everyone else heat theirs up by battling. They're going to go backwards. If you beat your stuff up, you're going to slip backwards. We saw that with the Fox machine. Alan Fox is all the way back in 13th position because he really held the throttle down and just stayed out front for a while and burned those tires off and didn't take care of them. And it's very clear that if you beat your stuff up, you're going to go backwards. So I think conserving your stuff and playing the long run game here, I think, is the way to go forward.
I agree with you. That's something huge. And again, we're slowly again closing towards the pit window. We were talking about this. There's the potential, of course. We see with the tires and with this package, a lot of times they even out towards the middle of the run. That could affect when drivers may pit tonight. Question of having to wait and see. We're still following one of the battles for 6th position. Also, the battle's starting to fiercely pick up for 8th position because Adam Eisenhower looks hungry to try and make the pass in the SimSpeedShop.com machine.
And even for third, too, Tommy Haynes and Ed Morris, they're side by side on the back straightaway. Haynes trying to get that third place away. Morris trying to defend on the outside lane. He's been up there the past couple laps just trying to carry more momentum. But the 17 drops to the bottom. He's not quite clear in turn 4, but he's trying.
Side by side, Morris running the high line, having some draft help from behind from Mike Franklin. Can he get the pass done is the question this early on lap 30. Morris, the high line, still can't make it quite stick. Haynes has been aggressively setting it in deep on the bottom line whenever he's been pushing down there. The difference is between him and Fox, he's been able to hold it on a little bit longer, but as we've seen, the tires, the more you try and battle that much down there, the more they start heating up.
And now you see Mike Franklin just kind of sizing up the situation. He's going to try middle 3 wide on the exit of turn 4. I thought he was going to go with the 7 car, but the 7 went way high out of turn 4. The 82 goes middle 3 wide off into turn 1. He might get 2 in one shot here.
And Franklin able to get by the 7 of Morris at least. Launches it off the outside line, takes the position. 2 passes done in the span of 1 corner. How about that? Mike Franklin moves his way up to 3rd position on the racetrack.
A power move there by the 82, but just behind him, the 27 of Muller has a freight train behind him in turn 3 and 4, and he's backed up quite a group of drivers as they're trying to scramble around him. That's the 56 of Wimbish back to his inside, and right behind the 75 of McDaniel. He's trying to figure out which line is going to go quicker here.
And this is something many of these drivers have been trying for a little while now. Wimbish on the inside line, trying to make the move on Muller for 6th position. Able to pull off the slide jump, yes! He floored it straight off the corner, and was able to get a little bit of clearance from Muller as well, as they go back to single file behind Muller, in fact, as they line up with McDaniel now. Wimbish to P number 6.
Yeah, you start to worry when you get lined up like this that you might have that accordion effect that you see even there at the exit of turn 4 at the 86 and the 33. If someone checks up, it's going to stack up that entire line of race cars. There's not enough gaps between them for the reaction times that you need to avoid an incident. So they have to be careful. You see them now kind of offsetting themselves a couple feet to the side in the corners just so that they have better visibility.
Yeah, that's actually something that's not really discussed, is that making those kind of adjustments, not for, of course, the fastest line, but those kind of adjustments to make sure, can I see what's going on? Because anything can happen at this kind of point. As this has all been shaping up, too, it looks like Darren Clement has quietly joined the back end of this battle. He is +8 from the drop of the green flag.
And that might just be a matter of him conserving his stuff and not battling anybody too hard, just taking the positions that come to him. You see the 86 all over the 75 of McDaniel in turn 2. Almost got to the quarter panel there. And now they're side by side, but again, that outside line prevails, and it's just so difficult to complete a pass down there, especially this late in the run. But now you see just up the road, that's at 75 right there that's trying to make the move on the 27.
Yeah, McDaniel once again trying to battle on the inside line. Can't do anything, though. He is still trying to at least maybe think of sending it. No, he backs off. The driver who does send it, however, is Darren Clement. He started 19th position for today's race with a 30.167 in qualifying, and he nearly lost it down the backstretch. They're still side by side for the position, though, with Muller, with McDaniel as well, as they're going to still battle through 3.
I don't want you to pull away from this, as this is a great battle, but I just will take your attention up to the top spot as Travis Pryor is slowly starting to reel in Jay Pryor just a little bit. It was a half a second a couple laps ago. It's down to 2.5 tenths as we continue to watch that battle for 6th.
And we have a car in the pits. It's Ed Moas, who has opened up the pit window on just lap 36 of the race. So we have cars pitting. We were talking about a little bit the possibility of undercutting because of that tire evenness towards the middle run. Morse might be trying to test it.
Well, and Alan Fox already visited pit lane a couple laps ago, just now actually, in that number 73, so he's all the way down, 1 lap down. So he started up near the front and just slid all the way to the back, came down to pit road to probably, keep that car from continuing to slide backwards. But now we're seeing Nick Hunt drop to pit lane and others now. So the pit window opening a bit earlier than we thought as the two Pryors get closer and closer at the front of the field.
And that's some of the draft coming in now. Travis Pryor, 32 flat last time. Jay Pryor, 32.1 the past time by in the 80 and 8, in the 81 and 80 machine, respectively. Up and towards the front, they've been able to break away. Mike Franklin now dives in with John T. Wimbish. Also following them into the group now is Darren Clement and Davey Hendricks. So again, the pit window wide open for the drivers in the Extreme Motorsports 99.com's Cup Series tonight, sponsored by Ricmotech. And this is kind of important with this package too because of the importance of the draft, Kyle. If you pit on your own, it can be the difference of a couple tenths a lap once you get out of the pits. If you come in a group, it can play big dividends.
Well, absolutely, and as you watch Jay Pryor try to break the draft on the back straightaway by pulling low, but you mentioned, you want to pit with a group. Well, you also want to pit, if you're at the back of a group, you want to pit before them so that you can jump them with that undercut. Again, we're about 2 seconds off the best times of the night. So if you pit 1 lap before the guy in front of you, that's 2 seconds on the racetrack you'll make up. So that undercut will work, but if you can make the tires last even longer, you could probably try the overcut with how green flag this race has been.
Right now, there are the top 13 drivers that are yet to pit so far. The Pryors not even making a look towards the pit so far, as well as Haynes so far. Weishart is up to 4th. Muller, Hallman, Glenn, Elliott, Tinch, Senesac, Perdue, Gillen, and Haynes, Rob Haynes, are amongst the drivers that are looking to pit. Elliott has ducked in just now in his number 42 machine, but everyone else is still trying to stretch it out, it looks like, until empty. Joshua Gillen, though, has crashed at the pit entry. The number 40 is spun out right in front of the commitment cone. We stay green, however, as he's able to get into the pits.
You just can't afford mistakes like this. I was just about to mention, you can't speed on pit lane either. These 1.5 mile racetracks. The leaders are coming to pit road right now as we continue to talk about Joshua Gillen's incident. You can't make those mistakes. It's going to put you a lap down here early, and if you speed on pit road, you're going to have even more problems. So don't make the race worse than it already is, especially for Gillen. So he's got to be careful on exit, not to speed. But you mentioned the Pryors on to pit road. They're third and fourth right now. I think there's 2 drivers left on the racetrack. It's Haynes and Glenn.
As you were discussing that too, Michael Moore also spin out. This is actually, I think, Kyle, one of the hardest pit entries in all of iRacing and all of NASCAR, because we see many times to this track with one where the inside wall is on the pit entry, and 2, how much speed you have to carry in before you get towards that early commitment cone. There's the chance that you can lock up the brakes and hook it around, such as we've seen 2 different times already in this cycle alone.
Thankfully, the race has stayed green, so it won't throw a wrench into the strategy here for anybody. But looking down the pit stops, I don't see anybody that has made a pit lane violation. Everyone's really in the 13 to 15 second range in the stop, so no one's served penalty yet for speeding. So I think everyone else, other than those 2 drivers that spun, I think they're all doing pretty well.
Yeah, Haynes and Glenn had also ducked in to close the pit window for the first time tonight on lap 42, 110 laps to go. Ed Morris has taken the race lead with the undercut strategy, with Mike Franklin up to second. John T. Wimbish, Jay Pryor, Alan Fox, and Travis Pryor are in the top 6 positions. So it looks like Morris is the big winner out of this. The biggest loser is, unfortunately, are the Pryors, who are up at the top of the grid before the pit cycle, as Jay Pryor, with the fresher tires, trying to battle, in fact, for third.
For Morris and Franklin, this might be a short-term gain, long-term loss sort of situation. Right now, Ed Morris is leading by 1.8 seconds, but we're going to watch that gap drop as these guys that have just come out of the pits use up the good on their tires. So we'll just keep an eye on this gap. Already it's 1.7 as they exit turn 2. So I don't know how long Morris's lead is going to last, but it was certainly worth a try.
Trouble for Randy Perdue. He's bobbled around off turn 4, able to save it, however, in 22nd. We stay green. This was just before the lead group up the right behind him. So Randy Perdue able to hold on to the car, lost a position, nearly snapped it.
Yeah, it looked like he just kind of hit the apron in turns 3 and 4, and I talked about that earlier. When you're ducking underneath somebody, you don't want to do that, but he just did that all on his own. Just had a little bit too much wheel in it, and that, honestly, as the run goes on, you put more and more wheel in it as the car starts to understeer, so he probably is out here on fresh tires. He's only 2 laps into a stint, Justin, so he probably just had a bit too much wheel in it, got on the apron, and got loose out of 4.
I think that's exactly what the part of the issue was in that one, Kyle. And now, again, we stay green. We still continue to go. We've gone all green so far through 45 laps. And it looks like the Pryors are starting to line up to find a way by Wimbish. Again, it's a couple lap difference between their tires. It was lap 38 when Wimbish came into the pits. The Pryors came in on lap 41. Looks like this time Jay Pryor going to try the inside line to try and move up to third. Does exactly that. New man up in the top 3, as Travis Pryor will follow him up to 4th position.
They worked their way by Wimbish, and they're going to set their sights on Mike Franklin, who's about 2 seconds up the road from Jay. And then 0.6 of a second up from Mike Franklin is Ed Morris. So that 1.8 second lead has dwindled down to a third of what it once was, and that's going to continue to drop as Ed Morris already has 10 laps on his tires compared to the 5 that the Pryors have.
And on top of that, Franklin's got the same cycle as Wimbish, so it's about a difference of 3 laps between the top 2. On top of that as well, so something to watch. Alan Fox, who also attempted an undercut, has already dropped from up to the top 5, back to 10th position because of the strategy. But they're closing in fairly quickly. It's about a 0.4 of a second gap between the Pryors per lap gained and Ed Morris's last lap. You're looking on board with the number 81 of Travis Pryor, who falls behind Jay Pryor inside the draft. We do have a lap car up in front, but other than that, it's clean sailing to be able to get up to the race leaders.
And that's Joshua Gillen that they're lapping right now, and I think, Gillen's going to lap down because of that spin he had going on to pit road, so you see that's going to hurt him here early. Now, he is the only car running that is 1 lap down at the moment, although it looks like Rob Haynes is just up the road. He's potentially could get himself lapped, and at that point they're fighting for the lucky dog if the caution were to come out, but Joshua Gillen putting himself back here pretty early in the race.
Yeah, but take a look as well. The interval has already dropped like crazy since passing the lap. Traffic down by almost a second. And they're within the draft 2 of Mike Franklin. This time by at the stripe, Jay Pryor, of course, a 30.8. Ed Morris dropped to a 31. Mike Franklin a 31.1. So the Pryors As you said, they're coming with their fresh tires, and they're coming in fast, as Franklin wants to try and make the move, backs off.
Yeah, Morris bounced off the wall out of turn 2. Just a light scrape there, no major damage. But I think Franklin's going to get to Morris before the Pryors get to Franklin. But they're all converging for that top spot here on lap number 50 as they cross the line there. So we're about a third of the way through this race. We've already seen that Morris, Franklin, and the Pryors are the quick guys here. But keep an eye on Wimbish. He's about a second and a half back from the Pryors. But he might have a say in this thing later as the 82 tries to go for the lead on the exit of turn 2.
Has to back off, though. Can't make it work off the corner exit, as he'll try and slow him back. But look who's on his back bumper, a car length back. Both Jay and Travis Pryor have both caught up to the lead pack, and it looks like they're working together on this one. How are they going to attack us is the question. Franklin wanting to attack Ed Morris, tries to look inside. The Pryors stay outside as they'll make it a battle for second.
Yeah, they're going to roll right by the 82 like he's stopped dead in the water. And here goes the 80 of Pryor all the way to the safer barrier at the exit turn 2. Contact on the back straightaway as they get together.
No damage it looks like, though, for at least Jay Pryor's car. Maybe a slight scrape on the 82 machine. But Pryor still holds on to the outside line and able to get up to second. It looks like Travis Pryor also trying to follow on. But Ed Morris, he hasn't been passed so far since coming out of the pits. Tries to play defense as it's a big-time close crossover for Jay Pryor.
Wow, he slipped that thing through a tiny hole that almost didn't exist, but the 80 for Pryor goes to the bottom in turn 2. Tried to get the lead away, wasn't able to do it. Now the 82 has help from the 81 on the outside lane, so they're pushing and trying to get back around the 80, but there's just no grip up there now for the 82 of Franklin. Those tires just not going to be able to hang on.
Franklin nearly got hooked by Travis Pryor, in fact, at the exit of turn 2. He's going to try and move to the inside of Franklin this time. Pryor will. Travis Pryor up to third. Morris still trying to hold on to the midline as Jay Pryor has to check up. He's still faster, though, on the corner exit. A couple miles per hour quicker. Side by side down the backstretch they go.
Spectacular stuff here. The 80 of Pryor dives off into turn 3, but just doesn't really have the angle, but he's going to throttle at mid-corner. He's going to try to clear the 7 here as they exit the turn, and he will. Jay Pryor back to the lead, lap number 53.
Jay Pryor reclaims his race lead. Travis Pryor reclaims second. Travis Pryor backs off to leave some space, but he still has to clear Ed Morris, though, to complete the pass. Yes, indeed, he will. So a new 1-2 up at the front of the field, it looks like now. But Morris is not giving up all of a sudden. He's still hanging on that quarter panel, but as you're going to see here in turn 3, the fresher tires prevail in the bottom to secure that 1-2 for the Pryors.
I'm curious to see if the 7 of Morris continues to run the outside lane just to save his tires a little bit. Because remember, Mike Franklin still has fresher tires than the 7 car does. So I expect the 82 to get by the 7 as well. But maybe Morris will drive up the racetrack. We see him now kind of running a middle groove here. And the 82 goes up a lane to try to get some more grip.
Trying to change the lines right now to get up to the 3rd position now. Franklin again, +2 since the start of the race tonight. He qualified in the 6th position, side by side now with Morris trying to send it. Can't get the run. They are even, though it looks like off the corner exit. We are hearing a word from the 17 machine that he is potentially giving a warning about something, I think, maybe pitting. Or am I mishearing that?
It'd be too early to make a pit stop unless it's for a penalty of some sort. But now you see the 82 clear the 7. He carried Morris all the way up the racetrack in turn 3 and 4. I'm not sure if Morris appreciated that, but he's right on the rear bumper now, maybe trying to give him a shove off into turn 3. Got awful close there.
Absolutely got close. Now Franklin up to 3rd. There is a lap car coming in the pits this time by, as it looks like it is the number 29 machine of Rob Haynes. That was the driver that was calling for the pit warning, pardon me. As part of that situation, Tommy Haynes is the one who stays out. Apologies for that, as one of the Haynes comes into the pit window. But as to where we're discussing this, David Weishart has also moved up to 5th position by Wimbish. And now it looks like McDaniel and Tommy Haynes are slowly reeling them in. But Haynes is diving in deep.
Haynes goes to the bottom of the 75 of McDaniel. They're going to be side by side at a turn 4. And now it's just a drag race down the front straightaway. We'll see if that outside line pays off, but they're almost dead even at the stripe. But the 17 going to have the runoff into the corner. If he sends it off here deep, he should be able to clear the 75, and he does. I don't think McDaniel will have a big enough run to get back to the outside on the exit of the corner.
No, he won't, in fact, as Haynes able to close off that high line on the corner exit. McDaniel having the draft, can't do anything, though. Haynes, though, has been one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, Kyles, discreetly as the battle was going on for that race lead. He was even quicker than the priors. It's evened off a little bit with some of these battles he's in now. But Tommy Haynes is going. He's got a fast car.
Yeah, he's certainly coming, and he was battling for the lead early in the race, just fell off a little bit towards the end of that last run. He's got, 17 laps on his stint of tires, so he's got a little bit fresher tires than the priors do. And we mentioned the priors, well, they're running 1-2 right now, 2/10 off. I don't think they're going to battle yet. I think they're working together, and it's much too early in the race to be really fighting for the lead if they just got a stranglehold on the rest of the field.
Especially with 91 laps to go. It's part race management, part racecraft, I think we can say with that. Why try and battle like it's the last lap when you still have 149 left on the pylon? You know what I'm saying? You kind of want to have that kind of discretion for those kind of battles. For other drivers, those say if you're not in that position, such as the 17, I think he's saying, I want to get up towards the front, don't want to be held up. He's able to get by Wimbish this time to move up to 6th.
Yeah, Tommy Haynes just carefully clawing his way forward bit by bit. And again, we talked about tire conservation, and keeping the tires on your race car, keeping them cool is going to be very important. And he seems like he's taking his time right now, not pushing the issue and just taking passes as they come to him.
Yeah, some good patience being shown this run. He was a bit more aggressive, I think, the first run. And the difference is between what we've seen between him and Alan Fox was Alan Fox seemed to chew up his tires very quickly while running that bottom line against the yellow stripe going side by side. He's able to save it a little bit more. Up in front, though, the battle is shaping up between Weishart and Morris for 4th position. David Weishart having a bit more fresher tires than these drivers. Same lap cycle he came in compared to the priors. He moves up to 4th. Next stop, 3rd position.
An excellently performed pass there. He gets off in front of the 7 out of the exit of turn 2. Now he's going to start to stretch that gap up, about a 5-lap difference on tires there. Right behind, though, Tommy Haynes. He has a lap fresher tires, and even Weishart does, and you can just see him popping into the frame. That 17 car is coming.
On top of that, you have Darren Clement also working his way through the drivers behind all those cars cluster up for positions. Here's the difference between Morris this time by and Haynes, by the way. Haynes, fastest car on the lap track last time by, 31.798. Compared to Morris's 32.168, with still at least about 10 laps left on the fuel cycle for the number 7 machine. So that's again, that trade-off. You can have that undercut, gain a couple seconds, but that time can fall off quickly towards this point of the run if you do it too early of an undercut.
I'm also keeping my eye on Davey Hendricks in the number 44 machine. He's the top-running Toyota Camry at the moment in 10th position. In the previous lap, he was dead even with the priors on lap time. He fell off about 2/10 that time through, but he's running 10th right now, and he could be one that might surprise us later, depending on how he runs the pit strategy.
He's been very quiet. He was at the back of the race, and he, in fact, Hendricks, as you talked about, has the fastest lap of the entire night so far with a 30.148. Compared to everyone else, no one's even got, only about one other car has gotten within a 10th of that so far tonight. So he is moving. But Alan Fox, he is dropping, we should note as well. He's the biggest loser on the track other than Michael Moeller so far, minus 12, minus 18 respectively.
And going well for Fox at the moment, but how about the battle for, looks like 3rd place heating up, Mike Franklin and Dave Weishart. Weishart continues his climb forward. He's all over the back of the 82 now, using that draft on the front straightaway, dives to the inside off into turn 1.
Franklin again, slightly spit older tires, battling with Weishart on the inside line. Weishart carrying a bit more speed off the Apex exit in the Northern Capital sponsored machine, and the Vinoy Construction sponsored machine as well for the number 33. Also behind them, dive bombing to the inside, it looks like, is Tommy Haynes wanting the position. Weishart moves up to 3rd. Still can't clear, though, with the momentum. While Tommy Haynes wants that position badly on the inside, going through the tri-oval and into turn number 1. Weishart clears.
It's just so interesting watching Tommy Haynes, Weishart, Davey Hendricks, Darren Clement. These are the guys that are slowly climbing forward. Now, compare that with Morris, or Muller or Fox. They're the guys that are sliding backwards. So lots of comers and goers here in the first 67 or so laps, and also starting to think about your next pit stop window here opening up in just about 5 to 10 laps. I think we'll see some of the guys that pitted earlier coming in pretty soon.
We actually just seen Ed Morris duck down to the pit lane a bit earlier, in fact, than I think we expected even with the last cycle. Ed Morris changing it up, pitting from as he was dropping out of the top 10.
Interesting strategy there as the 82 and 33 continue to fight out of turn 2. The 33 has the high side now. I expect him to be able to complete this pass. But yeah, an interesting strategy from Morris. Maybe just trying to break this race up into smaller increments and keep the goodness tires.
Oh, caution flag is out. It's trouble for McDaniels. He had a collision, it looks like, with Davey Hendricks in the entrance to turn number 3. Yes, indeed. As the highest run Toyota seen McDaniels hit the wall in the safer barrier on the entrance into 3 and crossed across Hendricks' nose.
So 69 laps in, our first caution of the night. That's going to really throw a wrench into things, especially for Ed Morris, who just came to pit road. He's a lap down right now. We'll see how this all cycles out, but that's not going to be so good for somebody here.
I think Hendricks got lucky. He barely got any damage on that collision. McDaniels, though, he just looked like he ran against the wall and just scraped against the safer barrier on the entrance in turn 3 and just had nowhere to go and came across the number 44.
Yeah, certainly nothing that the 44 of Hendricks really could have done to miss that.
Yeah, you're looking at some onboard cameras as the drivers duck down to pit with the difference in strategies here. But yeah, again, just ping-ponged off the safer barrier is all I think you can really say. Tried to save it, but that was no room. There was not enough room for error.
No, and no significant damage, at least that I can see, on the 44. He just overran his pit box there slightly, but it looks like he'll be able to continue. I'm not really sure about the other machine, though.
And it looks like it might be McDaniel that might have claimed. This changes everything strategy-wise, though, because, again, Morris was in the pit lane as that caution flag was coming out. He's going to be able to stay out and reclaim the race lead, and because of the timing of this caution, it's only going to be maybe about a half-lap difference at the most on his tires.
Well, I fear for the 7 of Ed Morris because I think Joshua Gillen was actually ahead of him, and they were a lap down. So I will have to see how it sorts out, but I'm pretty sure Morris will just get to take the wave around here.
Let's double-check this here. It's going to be interesting how they score this, and you might be right. Yeah, Joshua Gillen, in fact, is indeed, you are right, was the wave-around car. And Morris was about, I think, to pass him, too, before that caution flag and everything else going on. So he's going to have to take the wave around and loses now 18 spots from the start because of the timing of the caution flag.
Yeah, just really bad timing, and he'll have to go all the way towards the rear of the field. And all that track position he thought he was going to gain with that strategy just went all the way out the window, and he'll have to climb from the back and do it all over again.
Again, caution flag is out. We are now 81 laps to go with 150 total for tonight's race. Before we get to the halfway point before a restart, why don't we go through our halfway race break, sponsored by Ford Entertainment Group. Here is your running order at the time after the pit stops as it continues to cycle through. Right now, the Priors are 1-2 on the track after having a clean pit stop window. David Weishart in 3rd, Mike Franklin in 4th. Look who jumped up to 5th, however. It was a man that was on the move at the late end of that caution. Before that caution, Darren Clement, Tommy Haynes, John Wimbish, Tyler Hallman, Davey Hendricks, and David Elliott round out the top 10, Kyle.
Absolutely. We talked about comers and goers earlier. Well, Tommy Haynes is one of those guys, so is Mike Franklin, Dave Weishart, but the Priors have been really the only consistent thing for the majority of this race so far. They maintain the lead right now, the 81 and the 80 in that order at the top of the board. They've been the quickest for most of the evening, and it's going to be difficult to get the lead away from either of them because they're going to work together the best they can, which means Weishart, Franklin, Clement, Haynes, and the rest of the field might have to try something different to get around them.
Let's look at the 11th through 20th positions. Meanwhile, Jerry Glenn is outside the top 10 by only 1 spot. Gary May is in 12th. Alan Fox, he's been going backwards since overheating up his tires at the midway portion of the first run. He's in 13th after setting the pole time. John Sterling, Bryce Senizak, Bobby Tinch, Nick Hunt, Hunter McDaniel, Michael Moore, and Joshua Gillen, the wave-around car from the Lucky Dog, I should say, round out your top 20.
Well, as we gear up for a restart here in just a moment, we saw some chaos at the beginning of the race, but it really wasn't as chaotic as we thought it might be. But now that everyone's kind of figured out how everyone's going to race each other, we might see some more aggression here. Again, almost to halfway, I think the intensity level comes up. I think we see some more people try 3 wide heading off into turn 3 the lap after the restart.
Last of the drivers, as you see on your screen, Hunter McDaniel now cycled to 21st, Joshua Gillen to 22nd. Wave around for Ed Morris. Rob Haynes is the only driver a lap down. He is 7 laps down in the race at this time. Once again, that's your look at your Ford Entertainment Group midway race break. That is, again, sponsored by Ford Entertainment Group PC. They have been serving the iRacing community with custom-built affordable computers specifically built and tuned for iRacing. Your PC will come with everything you need preloaded so you can get to racing as soon as it hits your doorstep. Get yours today and join the 600-plus iRacers already enjoying FEG PC. PCs to fit every budget for $540 on up or available. www.fegpc.net and mention the code LSRTV10 and get your build quoted today. It's time for the restart, though, here in Kentucky. 78 laps to go with the Pryors on the front row for this restart. Travis Pryor will take the inside line, outside line, taken by Jay Pryor. Pryor already off and away. Both of them, in fact, hit the gas. Off to a good start once again back at Kentucky.
We'll see what Mike Franklin in that 82 does. He's been aggressive here early, but he might have the opportunity to drop down in front of Darren Clement in that blue and white number 32, and he does. He's lined up fourth now, and that's the 17 of Tommy Haynes on the outside. He restarted sixth. You don't want to be on the outside here in this package, and he's going to try to get himself in the inside lane here shortly.
Backing up is Wimbish, in fact, however, wants to try and force something. Clement, though, gasses his way back on the inside, able to move up to his highest position of the race. Darren Clement's been on the move since the start for the Performance Motorsports car, but he's going to have a caution behind them. Caution flag is out. It's Ed Morris.
And that's just an absolute heartbreak for Morris. Things just didn't go quite his way earlier tonight when that caution flew on lap 69 and on lap 74. That's going to be pretty severe damage for the 7.
And it looked like, if you look at the LSR TV replay, he tried to force the hole. He was trying to go to the ins between Randy Perdue while side by side with Hunter McDaniel. Hit Perdue, squeezed McDaniel into the fence. McDaniel got some severe damage, but Morris, of course, got the worst out of it, trying to make the move at the back.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that we should watch the 7 on the restart because he was going to be going for broke. I mean, he has nothing to lose at this point, getting shoved all the way to the back, but sometimes you make your own bad luck, and not really a whole lot he could have done there once Perdue came up the racetrack, but that was a hole that was closing, and I don't even think Purdue's spotter had an opportunity to say there was a car middle there, but of course, an unfortunate incident, and that's going to be heavy, heavy damage for the 7.
Yeah, that already destroyed the front clip. Just about for Morris's car, his back end, no more TV panel at least. And the thing is, with this package, you get engine damage. It can be an absolute killer, essentially.
I do think the 75 of McDaniel kind of got away with things there. He's got some severe left front damage, but as for the rest of it, it doesn't look too bad. We get a pretty hard hit there. We'll see him come down pit road and try to fix this. I'm not sure how much it'll be left, but he's certainly going to bring it down, and they'll bang on it for a couple minutes and see what they can fix.
Racing incident is what it's called from the tower, as that's going to bring a couple cars into the pit lane that do have some type of damage or trying to get some type of strategy at the back. That is, again, McDaniel coming down, Morris, as well as Perdue, also following them along. It looks like that was one of the drivers towards the front, and Nick Hunt, was 20th last time by the Van Noy construction machine. So 4 cars electing to come down to the pit this time. Your lucky dog, moving from 7 laps down to 6 now, is Rob Haynes in the 29 machine. But that's going to restack things once more. But one guy I think we have to watch on this next restart is Darren Clement. He started again 19th. We've been talking about him a little bit tonight. And he has been on the move. Had a great pass to get up to 4th position, mind you, by Franklin and Wimbish. And there's a chance he might be able to potentially break into the top 3 stranglehold on if he times it up right this time.
Yeah, he's been flying forward so far this evening, and again, you mentioned his aggressive pass. Well, it was aggressive and it worked, and I think that's the key difference here. As we saw for the 7, he was aggressive. That didn't work out. Now, different circumstances for sure, but the 32 has been placing his car in the right spot so far tonight from 19th to 4th. It's been a good climb forward. He has half the race left to do it.
Yeah, again, he's with Performance Motorsports. His teammate, again, Davey Hendricks, was involved in that caution we've seen before, and one of his other teammates. And Rominger was not able to make the start tonight, it appears. And it looks like Clement is going to duck down this time down the pit lane, as well as Hendricks, as well as Gary May and a couple others.
Well, I can't say I expected that.
So this is going to be interesting. There's still lights in the pace car, we should note here. Well, what's the reason you think for this?
You know, we talked about tire strategy being so important, but I'm just not so sure that I mean, the leaders are got about 7 laps on their tires, but a majority of those are caution laps. Now, there might be a slight speed advantage to doing this, but I'm really a little bit concerned that the speed you're going to gain is going to be offset by the massive track position you're going to lose here, and all that time spent climbing back through the field is going to wear your stuff out even more. I'm not sure I agree with this call, but they're going to try it, and we'll see how it works.
Yeah, I'm curious about how this is going to work, too. Especially since that includes some of the biggest movers and front runners of this race that are at least trying something. The only thing I can think about is maybe trying to get a fuel advantage because they're only 75% fuel, mind you, and the drivers have gone up to 42 laps. Maybe they're thinking they want to have as much fuel as possible in case there's an air caution.
Yeah, I would think that for everyone on the racetrack, it'd be a one-stop race from here, but maybe not. Maybe you want to go a little bit more, and I think that might be what they're trying to do. I mean, again, you spend about half the amount of fuel at pacing that you do at full throttle here, so I think what those guys are trying to do is maybe just get some more fuel in it, like you said, Justin, and maybe that's the difference between making it and not making it on lap number 150, but I guess we'll see how it pans out.
The thing is, though, that with that, too, it's the difference of when you're dropping the green flag, even if you're clutching, holding in the clutch and turning off the engine, it's 18.2 if you come out of the pits. You're still around near 17 gallons flat just by even one lap around the racetrack, which is still a decent amount. That's with full fuel, mind you. That's going to be obviously different in terms of the calculations for these drivers as we hit the 1-to-go signal. Let's run down the top positions again. Travis Pryor and Jay Pryor in the top 2 positions. David Weishart and Mike Franklin in row number 2 on the restart. John Wimbish, Tommy Haynes in row 3. With Tyler Hallman, Jerry Glenn in row 4. Rounding out the top 10. Alan Fox up to 9th now. With David Elliott rounding out the top 10 here. Going to be a pretty interesting restart. We've seen the Pryors in control so far at the front since they got up there about a few laps into this race. It might be challenging to try and take them off the top of the hill.
Well, we saw last time people that came to pit road and got put towards the rear of the field. Now we're going to put Darren Clement and a couple other drivers back there, including Davey Hendricks. We'll see if they have the same fate or if they'll have a better luck situation here as we re-rack him and restack him. And we're going to come back green to lap number 79 here.
Once the drivers who pit, they are around 16th-ish on back on the racetrack. Pace car is off the racetrack. A late start this time by Pryor as the green flag waves. Off they go once again here in Kentucky.
A great restart for the 81, and that left the 80 in the dust. He's going to drop down in front of the 33. Remember, they have to wait till they're past the start-finish line to change lanes. The 80 did do that, so he's back in line now.
Oh, trouble! This is in turn 1. It's a big one. Michael Moore involved. A couple other cars spin. Davey Hendricks involved. Morris involved again. The caution flag is back out with 72 laps to go.
Oh, and that's what we were talking about literally just before we went green, is the risk that you put yourself at when you go to the rear of the field. And, of course, that one took out a lot more cars than the previous incident did.
Let's quickly take a look at the OSR TV replay because this was, again, a big one. It looked like it started up towards the mid-pack. Yes, indeed, that was with Moore, who had hitting the left rear quarter panel, the 86 of Adam Eisenhower. That pinballed Eisenhower off the inside wall and back up into Purdue and the rest of the traffic, and caused a massive pileup. Again, Hendricks, as well as Hendricks, as low as Morris, again getting some of the worst of it.
Yeah, I think it was the 3 of John Sterling that had just gotten by the 86, and I think what the 86 was doing is trying to give that 3-car room, and hadn't quite realized that the 3 was already past him and was too far offset to the right, and that's how he hooked the 27 of Muller. But just a really unfortunate coming together there. 2 cars going for 1 spot on the racetrack.
Again, the driver that hooked him, again, the 86 of Eisenhower, as he talked about that. Again, Eisenhower was starting on the bottom line, Moore on the outside line for that. And they are saying it's the contact with 27 and 86 from race control. They will call it a racing incident. Once again, race rules. First incident between drivers is ruled a racing incident. Second one is a black flag under green conditions if they do cause an error caution flag in this race tonight.
The 32 of Darren Clement, I think he made it through. He's got a little bit of splitter damage. I'm not sure if that was from that incident or from something else, but Clement made it through. Of course, the 7 of Ed Morris and the 5 of Randy Purdue not quite as lucky.
Yeah, Hunter McDaniel also involved with a little bit more damage, getting some repairs done down pit lane. Eisenhower got destroyed. Purdue again involved in his second straight caution flag, bringing us back under the yellow with under 70 now laps to go. That was a pretty interesting start to say the very least. Again, I got the exact fuel total, in fact, now about 14 gallons in total is what the drivers are working with here for their fuel windows here. No one else electing to top off, it looks like, this time by under this caution flag.
Yeah, now this really makes the fuel situation kind of interesting because all the advantage that the 32 just gained, you would think he would, he's already in 16th. These are only a couple cars behind him. You might as well come back down and top off. But again, haven't seen anybody do that yet. So
oh, he's doing that now.
There he goes. Okay, problem solved.
Yeah, he's going to also join Joshua Gillen, who was the lucky dog a couple cautions ago. As it looks like Michael Muller will stay out. He's got some bad damage in his 27 machine. Well, Randy Perdue, he's just been unlucky. Both times he's only got a minor damage, both cautions, but has lost track position as a result, it looks like, so far because of them.
Yeah, so it looks like from here it's very easily a one-stop race now. If you go 40 laps, it takes you to lap 122, and then you can just go from 122 to 150. So that seems like that's really the way to go. But I'm not sure what these leaders, what their situation is. That's stretching it a little bit, but again, I think you're going to want tires. If we get another caution or even a late race caution, you're going to come to pit road no matter what. So I guess we'll see how it pans out. However, I will note that we've seen 3 caution flags in a span of only about 10 to 12 laps. So cautions breed cautions, and we might get a couple more.
Counterpoint, though, with that, Kyle, is I've talked with a couple peak drivers about this before, or for advice on driving on my personal side as well as for broadcasts. One of the main things they say is clear. Track position is very key with this package, and if you feel like it's going to be a caution fest, they're going to stay out. They're going to try and stay in front of the incidents and get as high up the grid as they can.
Yeah, I think that you're probably definitely right about that. I think it might change depending on how soon that caution flag flies or how late it falls, and also what the racing leading up to that was like. If we have a rash of cautions, 2, 3, or 4 towards the end of the race, you're going to stay out because the likelihood of getting another caution is very high. If you have 4 laps to go, your likelihood of getting another caution is also very high because the aggression level goes up. But if you get one with 10, 15, maybe 20 to go, I think you're going to want to get yourself some tires just in case it goes green to the end. As the lights go out in the pace car, 1 to green here.
Or get ready to get back underway. The top 10 is basically essentially the same, it looks like here. Although we've seen, Jerry Glenn now up to 8th position amongst those drivers. That switched around a little bit. Mike Franklin up to 4th position. David Weishart still up to 3rd position on the racetrack. Again, the drivers that pit on the last caution, the biggest mover out of them that were able to avoid some of the incidents have already either topped off or are basically... or have been getting some damage essentially in that last caution. So we'll have to see how this restart goes. We'll have 67 laps to go here at Kentucky Speedway. Once again, the Pryors in control. Travis Pryor on the inside line, the control car. Jay Pryor on the outside line, backing up the inside line, in fact, as the pace car drops off. They've been doing a 4 count, it looks like, for the restarts today. That's exactly what they'll do as the green flag waves. Off and away go the Pryors. And another good start for the top 2.
Much more even this time between the 81 and the 80, but again, Jay's going to tuck right back in behind the 81, but it's side by side behind him. The 33 of Weishart gets back into 3rd place. He'll set his sights on the leaders. We'll see if he can compete. See Wimbish in that number 56 on the bottom. He was trying to get by the 82 of Franklin, couldn't quite do it.
Top 7 now single file. Tyler Holman also tried to get a pass done, but had to file in inside. But look who's now behind them in the next group. Alan Fox is now up to 9th position, but he's battling still with David Elliott, one of the cars that we have seen go up the grid, Bryce Senezak, as well as John Sterling and Bobby Tinch amongst that group.
This is an absolute hornet's nest through turns 1 and turns 2. This is where you have to be careful when everyone's being so aggressive. It's easy to forget where you place your vehicle on the racetrack, but trying to get themselves sorted out. There's that 75 100 McDaniel at the back of that group. He's trying to recover after being involved in a couple incidents. There's a 09 of Bryce Senezak. He's trying to work the inside of the 42 of David Elliott out of turn 4.
As that's going on, though, side by side for the 2nd position, David Weishart trying to work the outside line. Jay Pryor forced to the inside line this time. The question is, can the pass be done? The Pryors have been 1-2 for about 50 laps now tonight. But it looks like Weishart able to break that gap because here comes the rotating door with Mike Franklin keeping it wedged open.
Well, these front guys are all on equal tires and equal strategy now, at least up to within the top 10 or so. And it looks like Weishart's trying to end the Pryor dynasty here on lap number 86. And he does. And behind him, you mentioned Jay Pryor, Mike Franklin. They're side by side now.
Yes, they are indeed. Looking for a slight touch was Wimbish. Had to check up indeed. Haynes also checking up on the high line that time. Better run, though, off the corner from Franklin. Squeezing down Jay Pryor's number 80. Winches his way into the outside line. Did have contact with Wimbish, but able to get into line without incident.
Wimbish tried to put that car in a hole that didn't exist. Wasn't able to do it. He's just sitting back. He has a great view of this right now. Patience will be the key here on this run. I think we're going to go green for a little longer than we did in the past. And now you see Pryor trying to fight back on Mike Franklin through turn 2.
But up at the front, look who's caught up to the back end just about. David Weishart took a little peek on Travis Pryor. Lost some speed off the exit. Think he might have actually tried to go for the bump draft. But now it looks like Weishart's got the speed. He was 2/10 quicker with the draft last time compared to Travis Pryor. And he's hungry, it looks like, to try and make this move.
Yeah, I think Weishart is definitely looks like he's brought something to the party here as he closes in on Pryor down into turn 1. He's going to duck underneath him. No, he's going to follow him right through the corner. Interesting strategy here. He's going to try to get that left front tire ducked underneath, so he's out of the arrow shadow of the 81. And he loses a little bit of ground out of turn 2, but going to try to reel him back in with the draft.
But it's not as bad as it was last time by, where he lost an extra couple car lengths. Weishart using more of that middle of the first seam, it looks like. Well, it looks like Travis Pryor trying to stay above the seam. The difference between the two, Weishart looking a little bit faster apart with the draft. Off the exit with this different line. Doesn't make a move quite yet. They stay single file within the top 8 positions for the time being. But it looks like Weishart again has that pace. They evened out last time by at the stripe. Jay Pryor, though, looks like he now wants third back. He's on the back door, Franklin.
Yeah, Franklin has a mirror full of the 80 car right now, and Jay Pryor tries the outside lane. We saw this earlier in the race. The outside lane was the place to be at least 5 to 10 laps into a run, and right now Pryor tried it, wasn't able to get much of a run, but they're both losing time to David Weishart and Travis Pryor out up front.
Yeah, last time by, they lost about 1/10 of a second, give or take. Travis Pryor, in fact, was the fastest car, Kyle, last time by.
The 80 taking another look at the 82 on the back straight, and he'll dive to the inside in turn 3, all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, and the 82 only giving him a lane to work with, and the 80 slips up on corner exit, can't complete the pass.
Yeah, that's been something all day we've seen, Kyle, so far, where, especially once the tires wear, the bottom, very difficult to try and make a pass unless you send it in aggressively, like we're seeing behind from Tommy Haynes. But if you can't get towards the door or to try and push up the driver above you, it seems, you can't make that pass because otherwise, like in real life, you can be punished, such as Jerry Glenn's trying to do to the 17.
Yeah, we'll see if he can complete this pass. He launched it in pretty deep. It's not going to be deep enough as the 17 is going to carry the momentum, but now the 52 of Tyler Hallman has a lot of control over this situation. Which line is he going to choose? It looks like he's going to go with the outside lane and Tommy Haynes. That should push the 17 back out in front, but the 98 putting a pretty hard effort down here into turn 1. He's trying to get alongside, and he'll lose that battle there for now.
Just couldn't get the run he needed to. Glenn trying to get back up. Hello, says Tyler Hallman. You know, he came across the nose, in fact, of the 52 machine, but they stay clean, it looks like, once again for now. They stay lined up. It looks like it's now turning into tangle drafting, or tandem drafting, essentially, on this racetrack all of a sudden.
It got pretty dicey between Mike Franklin and Jay Pryor there. I think Franklin came across the nose of the 80, and there was probably maybe an inch or two between them, and that would have been a disaster. But they continue to stay lined up. But again, they're still losing about a 10th to 10th and a half a lap to Weishart and Pryor. That's about 0.6 of a second up the road from them now.
Yeah, that's slowly actually growing now because it's a tenth of a second quicker now between that 3-car tandem and that 2-car tandem that's leading things right now. This time by the stripe. Travis Pryor and David Weishart, 30.2s. Franklin, Jay Pryor, John Wimbish's group in the 31.40s at the moment. So they are losing time as they continue to shape things on up.
Looks like Wimbish is closing in on that battle for third as well. He was in it a couple laps ago, fell back just a touch, and now that the 82 and 80 are side by side again, it's brought that 56 right back into the fight.
Pryor trying to use the inside line this time off of turn 4. Can't make it work yet. Cycles back inside the draft once more. So Jay Pryor happy to be patient now all of a sudden, but look at John Wimbish here. Here, we talked about trying to get to the outside to be able to complete some passes or be able to defend some passes. He tried to use that outside, couldn't make it work. Jay Pryor, though, scraped the wall that opens up the door for the 56 on the inside line into turn 3.
He tried to send it in deep, but he wasn't quite able to clear, and the 80's going to carry that speed back around the outside again. We've seen this so many times tonight, but Wimbish going to probably head all the way to the apron here. Nope, he'll stay above the yellow line, and the 80 car is going to be able to almost quite clear him. Nope, won't be able to do it, and Wimbish is going to fight back through the middle lane this time, maybe carry him up the racetrack a little bit to carry the momentum, but they continue to fight side by side. I think Pryor's going to win this fight, though.
Yes, indeed. Outside line off of turn number 2, again, the preferred line. Most drivers have been trying to make a pass off of 3, but it seems, though, if you can't clear them again by apex in the middle of 1 and 2, you're going to lose that spot and actually get a bit punished because you can't complete that pass, it seems, today.
Look who else has just rejoined the top 10. Darren Clement in the 32 after getting caught out on that pit strategy. He climbs his way all the way back into 10th right now. So he only ran about a 10th off of the leader's pace the last time through, and he's a full 10th and a half faster than David Elliott right in front of him. So he is coming back to the front, and he's got about 53 laps left to do it.
And Tommy Haynes was also quicker than the leaders, in fact, last time by as well. So some of the drivers that are stuck in the second and third groupings now, they're getting some help with the drafting part, but right now they've been able to save their tires compared to the first couple runs tonight, and are now starting to pick up time. Leaders, 31.5 last time by. Clement, now the fastest car on the racetrack with a 31.4 with the help of the draft. He's quickly gaining up to the back end now of David Elliott.
You mentioned Tommy Haynes, and he was running pretty competitive lap times. Well, he's reeled in that battle for third place, and you see that's Franklin holding off Pryor again to the inside, but Wimbish and Haynes have closed up back to the rear bumpers. It's a 4-car fight for third.
Now here's the question. Can Haynes be able to do something here? We are slowly approaching that pit window. We got back to green on lap 83. In a couple laps, we'll be about halfway to go here. Again, to make it on fuel, you'll have to pit around with 40-ish laps to go. That's around lap 110. That can make things interesting for drivers such as Haynes. He sends it in to the inside line. Tries to pull off the slight job of Wimbish. Yes, indeed, he does it.
Oh, that was so close out of turn 4, and I don't think Haynes committed to it. And you see Wimbish, he's going to carry that overlap down the front straight. Now the 17 clears. He'll slide up in front off into turn 1, but they're side by side in front of him.
Jay Pryor now trying to set it inside through 1 and 2. Pushes up the racetrack, nearly door bang. Yes, and think they actually did touch. Mike Franklin hits the inside wall. Bounces off the racetrack as the caution flag comes back out with under 50 laps to go.
Oh, that's going to be huge damage for the 82. They just got together and sent the 82 around. I think so what happened is they made contact and it sent the 82 up into the safer barrier. He bounced off the wall. We saw that earlier in the race for the first caution. Those safer barriers are pretty bouncy, and the 82 bounced off, wasn't able to save it, took a hard hit to the inside wall.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They just had a very slight door bang. That pushed Franklin up the track. He tried hard to get out of the gas, couldn't even turn it away from the fence. And by the time he was able to react, boom, he hits that outside wall, boom into the inside wall. He's the only one with that involved in the incident with damage, unfortunately, for Franklin, but his day might be demolished.
Well, this really makes things very interesting here, Justin, because we have about 49 laps to go, and that's stretching out the pit window quite a bit. So we're going to see everyone come on down here, get 4 tires and fuel, and then it's going to be interesting. I think we'll see a lot of drivers shutting off their engines and pushing that clutch in to try to save as much fuel as possible.
Yeah, even if you top off, the math, depending on when we get back under green, it might, some drivers, most drivers, in fact, might not be able to make it on fuel. It's going to be an absolute fuel mileage race potentially here. Everyone, as you mentioned, ducking down to the lane. The only driver that hasn't followed them in so far, again, is Joshua Gillen. He has been pitting on the second laps, a majority of his pit stops tonight since getting the wave around. But a very big time stop now for all of the drivers as they get into the boxes.
So there's 2 mindsets here, Justin. It's the mindset of I'm just going to drive this thing, put the throttle through the firewall, and just try to run it out as fuel as fast as I can and come down again. Or you're going to try to save as much fuel as you can and coast into the corners. The problem I see with the second strategy is that with that big spoiler on the back, the reduced fuel mileage we've been seeing, I just don't know if coasting is going to be quite as efficient under green flag laps. So under caution, you bet everyone's going to try to save as much fuel as they can.
I agree on that one. Here's how they ran out of the pit lane just now. Travis Pryor, David Weishart, Jay Pryor, John Wimbish, Tommy Haynes. Your top 5 net. Again, Joshua Gillen yet to pit so far in the number 40 car up at the front. He was at the back end of the group. And expect him potentially to come down this time. He's all the way around the apron this time around the track. But as the fans may say, things are about to get real interesting for sure tonight.
Well, I think after the 3 cautions we saw starting on lap 69 to 70 or 74, 82, or wherever we ended that sequence, I do expect to see some aggressive moves here. Again, we're under 50 to go. We're in the last third of this race. I think guys like Darren Clement, who's restarting in 10th, he's going to be making some incredible moves down into turns 1 and 2, and just hope and pray that you make it out the other side.
Yeah, that's going to be curious if they can come out on the other side. It's, again, looking towards where we might be restarting. It would be about 45-ish to go. And they are confirming with race control just now that it is a with contact race incident. They are asking right now drivers again to keep it clean. They were talking just before this race tonight in the drivers' meeting that they felt this is going to be one of the best seasons in the history of Extreme Motorsports 99.com.
Well, the racing so far has been spectacular, only slowed by the 4 cautions we've had, 3 of them in quick succession, though. But other than those moments, it's been very clean, and even the incidents that we've had have been relegated to only 2 or 3 cars. So far, so good for this series. And again, for the first race of the season, this is really, really good stuff.
Really great stuff indeed so far. As you look right now on screen at Travis Pryor, he has been in command much of the day so far. 33 laps led. Both the Pryors, in fact, have had some great speed so far. What's it going to take to try and beat the Pryors that have been the fastest cars, it seems, on the track all night?
Well, I think David Weishart is going to have to be the one to pry out the Pryors from those top spots. Now the question is, the 81 and 80 are going to be lined up for the restart if the 81 chooses that inside lane. So Weishart is going to be working with Wimbish in the 56. I don't know if Wimbish has quite had the pace the 33 has, so I expect Weishart to be the one to try to dethrone the Pryors at the end of this one.
See if the bets are on there for sure. Again, the top 10 positions: Pryor, Travis Pryor, David Weishart, Jay Pryor, John Wimbish, Jerry Glenn, Tommy Haynes, Tyler Holman, David Elliott, Darren Clement, Alan Fox inside the top 10. Couple drivers did top off towards the back end of the field that have had some damage in this race, but it looks like everyone might be trying to roll the dice. 45 laps to go when we get back under green. As again, the control car Travis Pryor with David Weishart looking to try and break through the Pryor brigade up towards the front of this restart in his Samson Motorsports machine.
Yeah, Darren Clement actually lines up 9th for the restart, not 10th there, so he's going to have the inside lane. That gives him a pretty good spot to at least get 8th away from David Elliott. We'll see how they work out of turn number 2 as we come back to the restart after the end of our 4th caution. It'll be 45 laps to go.
45 laps to go. As now the pace car drops off the racetrack at Kentucky. Travis Pryor is in control of the restart. Holds up the grid. They start building up. The Pryors are off and away on the inside line. We're back on our way for racing here at Kentucky.
A spectacular restart for the Pryors, and they clear the 33 of Weishart, but now Weishart's got to go to work as he gets down into turns 1 and 2. He's got to plan out who he's going to make this attack as the 80 runs a little bit wide, trying to carry some more speed. Here comes Weishart up the inside for second.
Weishart gets to the inside line. Can he try and make it stick, though, heading into turn number 3? Side by side for the battle for second position. Much more aggressive on the gas goes Weishart, while Pryor gets a bit loose on the entry. To second goes David Weishart. The caution flag is back out. It's a big crash towards the back of the field. It's Nick Hunt.
Oh, that 00 is all torn to pieces. That was a huge accident in turns 3 and 4 there. But again, we talked about this. Cautions breed cautions. And we have another one here with under 45 to go.
And if you look at the LSR TV replay, that one's an iffy one. It looked like maybe a mix of air being taken off or potential contact, I don't know, with Bobby Tinch, but either way, that brings out the caution flag once more on the racetrack. Yeah,
just an unfortunate incident there between the 00 and I think the 29 to Rob Haynes got into it at the end. I thought I saw, was it the 66 of Tinch that got in there?
Yes.
And I think that there was either, some air there for sure. But either way, torn up 00, so I don't think Nick Hunt is going to necessarily care how it happened. It just happened, and that's that 00 all torn up.
And now here's the interesting thing. So far, no one ducking down to the pit lane yet. If they were to come down and sacrifice the track position, they would just barely, maybe, if they held in the clutch, be able to make it. If not, one lap short at this point. So no one taking the risk other than it looks like the drivers involved in the incident, Franklin and Hunt, amongst the drivers down the pit lane.
Yeah, I would have expected people to top off here, but I think, at least for the leaders, they're going to hope and pray that they get a couple more yellows at the rear of the field so that they can just shut the motors off and coast around and save enough fuel. It's still going to be a long way to save either way, but I think cautions are likely the way we've been seeing them happen. They haven't really happened on their own. It's been a quick succession of them. I think we'll see some more of that, but there is the potential for it just to go green to the end, and then what do you do?
Yeah, that's going to be extremely curious. Here's the other thing, too. We've seen this a couple times where drivers might wait until the 2 to go or 1 to go signal then to top off. Because if you come into pit and then come back out, pit lane, here's the thing. There's a potential that you get a pit lane close notification if you make one decision or the other here. This might play into why some of the other drivers are waiting until they can be inside that 42 laps to go window, maybe.
Now, the other thing is that with Weishart getting back by Jay Pryor, this lines up the Pryors again for the restart. We saw how that worked out for them last time, and if Jay can hold off David, they're going to continue to maintain those first and second spots. However, I think for them, I mean, only one driver can win. Maybe they work together. Maybe Jay drops behind Weishart to maintain the first and third running order so that they'll be lined up for the continuous restarts if we get them. I don't know if they, if they're thinking about that, but if they are, that's a pretty genius strategy.
I mean, based on what we've seen in the last restart, you can tell by the very least, of course, they're working together, the Pryors are, and they went right at the same moment. So it's something we see with teammates and or sometimes family members where they might say they're in a TeamSpeak server, try and count down their respective teammate to say, gas it. And sometimes it's on a half-second delay, sometimes it's right on the dot, and that's where we see some of that kind of situation. That's where that advantage might come in for that bottom side you're talking about.
And it's going to be really difficult for Weishart to pry these guys apart. I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to, at least Weishart's going to need at least a 5 to 10 lap run to even get a chance at Pryor, because even with this new package, because there's not as much power, you don't spin the tires as easily. So everyone's just got pretty much maximum grip right at the drop of the green flag, which means that restarts are a lot easier than they used to be in terms of getting the power to the ground, which kind of takes away the element of someone spinning their tires. So Weishart, if they're short runs here, he's going to be in trouble, I think.
Yeah, I think so too at this point. Should note the drivers who came down: Alan Fox, Ed Morris, Davey Hendricks, who topped off the last time by past the pit lane. It looks like a majority of those same drivers are looking to come down. Joshua Gillen going underneath the commitment cone along with Fox and Morris this time by as they get ready behind the pace car. The lights are out. 1 to go signal on the racetrack.
For Fox and Morris back in 19th and 20th, this race has just not gone the way they wanted it to. This is going to be a race to forget for them. But again, first race of the season, a long way to go. But definitely for Fox, I think I'm definitely surprised that he went from running so well to so poorly and so quick of a lap sequence there. So Fox, we're going to be restarting 18th or 19th. He'll get himself lined back up. Not really a whole lot left for him to run for. But up front, though, I can tell you, Weishart. And how about the 98 of Jerry Glenn up here in fourth? He just kind of snuck into this picture.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Where did Glenn come from? Wimbish, as we've seen, was up towards the battle. As that was all breaking down the caution, he was starting to gain some speed, I think, on the track. He has been quietly the second fastest lap time setter of the day today behind Hendricks. So he's shown some speed in the draft. He's just been quietly waiting at the back end of the top 10 so far. This is his highest position of the day, plus 13. The biggest gainer on the track so far tonight. He'll be on the outside of row number 2 for this restart. Again, the Pryors on the bottom side in rows 1 and 2. Weishart lined up with Glenn on the outside line. The Pryors take an early start this time. Green flag's back out. We're underway once more, Kentucky.
And Weishart got a bumper full of the 98 of Jerry Glenn on the restart. And Jerry Glenn we just mentioned how he kind of popped into fourth. Well, maybe he can try to get third place away from Weishart as he drops into third. And it's the Pryors all out of front, out of turn 2.
John Wimbish wants his position up in fourth now, side by side, in fact, with Jerry Glenn. Wants his top 4 back. He's going to send it in a bit deep again on the inside line. Glenn tries to pinch him down this time in his Chevrolet. They're going to stay side by side, but look at the crossover. Weishart uses the banking to get to the bottom side by side for second.
On the fresh tires, he should be able to launch it down in here and clear the 80 of Jay Pryor. They're really close, tight. You could probably can even slip a piece of paper between them as they exit turn number 2. Weishart and the 80 of Jay Pryor side by side.
Still side by side down the backstretch, very close. Weishart again trying to use the bottom side. He used the ramp down the banking of turn 4 to get to the apron and help himself get to the inside. But you can see again Pryor using the outside, keeping away from the side draft, as he still secures second at the stripe that time by.
And while they're doing this, Travis Pryor has got a half-second lead over these two. So I think Travis Pryor's looking in the mirror, and he's loving watching this battle between Jay and David. But now David Weishart tries to slide up in front of the 98 of Jerry Glenn. He does. Glenn gives him a shot, heading off into turn 3.
Also lined up is Wimbish along with Tyrell Hallman and a man we've been watching tonight in Tommy Haynes that's now up in the 7th position last time by. So it's now an 7 plus 8 car train that's lining up for second on back. Travis Pryor has pulled away to 0.4 of a second, but that might drop as they've gone single file for the top 3. Wimbish, though, is making it hard on the rear tires of Jerry Glenn, side drafting the left rear.
Yeah, Jerry Glenn, obviously he's very quick. He's at the second fastest lap time of the night, but he's just probably needs a green flag run to get settled in here. It looks like we're starting that as he's got to set his sights back on David Weishart, who's still trying to pry off that rear bumper of Jay Pryor. He's a 10th behind.
Yes, now it's down to under a car length behind. Pryor a little more later off the gas this time into turn 1. Maybe drags a slight touch as well as he pushes up, but Weishart better on the exit this time. Gets the draft side by side for second position. Tries to send it in deep on the inside, using the first seam to try and rotate as he pushes up the racetrack and nearly touch.
Now this is tense moments here for the 33. He knows he needs to get by this 80 to get to the 81 of Travis Pryor. That lead has not really grown for Travis over Jay, so they're keeping that in touch. And a couple laps ago, Weishart was the quickest car on the racetrack. He's got speed. He just needs to get by this 80. As you watch the battle behind him, the 98 and the 56, they were side by side. They're still side by side of the back straight.
And that's opened up now a 0.6 of 7 gap between the positions of 3rd and 4th on the racetrack with all the side drafting all of a sudden. One car ducking down to the bottom side. That is Nick Hunt that's coming down to the pit lane. But 34 laps to go. Lap 117 of 150 as Weishart gets the run down the front stretch. Can he clear by for second? No, they nearly make contact again this time off apex.
And he's going to clear him this time just barely, but he needed to do that. He's back in front of the 80 of Jay Pryor. As we're starting to run out of laps, that ticker is going to start counting down. That 33 car got to close in the 81 now. Now we get to see how fast he really is.
And that was a strong power move to be able to get on by. The question is now, did he use enough of it, too much of his stuff on Jay Pryor? Because he's got Travis Pryor that is still 0.4 up the road last time by. Despite that move, Weishart was still the faster car.
And what about what they got in the fuel tanks too, Justin? Don't forget, it's going to be too far, I think. So is anyone saving fuel, or are we just going to commit to a one-stopper from here on out? We have yet to see.
If they were to go for the one-stop situation, we might see pit stop start maybe around 20 to go-ish on the racetrack to split the run up the middle, potentially maybe. But the top 3 cars separate now by 2 car lengths apiece. 4th has gone back to single file with Jerry Glenn and John Wimbish. Tyrell Hallman, Tommy Hayes, Darren Clement, and David Elliott are inside, all within a range of about 2 seconds inside that top 9 and trying to work together at this point. This is going to help out to try and save fuel a little bit if you're the cars behind Travis Pryor, though, because with the downforce, with the more on throttle time, with being in the drafter you're behind, that can save a little extra bit.
Yeah, they have not slowed their pace, so I don't think anyone's saving fuel at the moment, but one guy I'm watching is that 32 of Darren Clement. He's going for 7th on Tommy Haynes down into turn 1. He gets alongside him, pulls wheel to wheel through turns 1 and 2. I think he's really, really quick, and he could have a say in this thing if he could just get some more track position. Also, the 98 of Jerry Glenn and Wimbish are side by side in front of them. That's for 4th.
And they've been battling like cats and dogs since basically this restart so far. Wimbish, can he clear by Glenn this time? Yes, he does. He shoves him up. But now Glenn's still holding on to that quarter panel so far. Glenn's not been making it easy, trying to side draft that right rear now on that high line, but it seems like Wimbish has been a little bit quicker. He's just not been able to get himself at the entrance of turn 1 cleared by Glenn.
Travis Pryor's looking in that mirror, and the 33 is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He's been quicker the last couple laps, and Weishart has closed that gap down to less than 0.2 of a second.
And it's closing even more so. Fastest time again by Weishart. Last time by with under 29 laps to go at the stripe. This time by for the number 33 machine. He was a little bit quicker, but Jay Pryor was faster, having the draft of both the drivers. As it's still going to be a difficult task. Meanwhile, though, look what's going on behind still for fourth. It's now a hornet's nest and a half, because it looks like Darren Clement was thinking 3 wide into turn 3 as he backs up behind Haynes.
Yeah, it looked like Tommy Haynes had gotten back around the 32, but now the 32 is going to get to the inside of the 52 of Tyler Hallman, and that's battling for 7th place, but I'm still looking at that 32 as one of the quickest cars in the field. He's just stuck behind this group now, but you mentioned how much of a hornet's nest it was for a moment, starting to single itself back out as Wimbish goes back on the 98, trying to get back to his quarter panel.
However, Tommy Haynes has already been able to pass Tyler Hallman. Darren Clement is trying to do the same thing, so Haynes, as we've seen, picking up that late run speed again, towards that mid-run speed, rather, I should say, as they try and go towards the finish of this one. Clement now moves his way up to 7th position as well. As this is all shaped up again, because of how fierce they were battling, I think, they lost 2 seconds nearly, trying to side draft for that 4th position.
Absolutely, and we continue to watch battles all throughout the field, but I'm just keeping my eye on that lead. It's about a 1/10 of a second between Pryor and Weishart, and we're about to split this run right down the middle. So what does Weishart do? And I think he's actually in an advantageous position over Pryor because he can see what Pryor's going to do and react to it. That's something that Pryor can't do.
Now remember, one of the first drivers that topped off for fuel in the last time by, under the caution flag, I should say, was Alan Fox. Fox has actually just lost 2 positions because he's stuck in a hornet's nest. That includes Michael Moore and Hunter McDaniel, who have also topped up at some points during the caution flags. So there are a couple different drivers 14th on back that can potentially be very close to making it, but it's the question of if the tires are going to be able to last.
So we have about 25 laps to go. Justin, what's your call now? I don't think anybody's been saving any fuel. Do you come now if you're David Weishart, or do you wait to react to the 81 and just race them out one-on-one?
Well, honestly, depending on this, I wouldn't give any advantage, honestly, to Travis Pryor in case things get mixed up because they're near bumper to bumper again, 13th on back. Here's the strategy call. If Pryor goes in, I go in. If they do not, I think Weishart should try and risk it and try and hope for that caution to be able to try and get some fresh tires because I think we've seen so far he's quicker. What are your thoughts on that, actually?
I think, again, if I'm Weishart, I'm doing what the leader's doing. But if I'm Jake Pryor, I have the advantage of looking back on both of them to see what they're doing. How about the 56 and 98 almost touching out of turn 2? There was very close quarters there. They almost made contact, and here comes Tommy Haynes to the inside. He's going to take a look at Wimbish off into turn 3.
Some frustration building up now for the 4th position, it seems, as Glenn able to clear by to keep 4th, but Tommy Haynes jumped on the opportunity. Here comes Clement, though, on the high side. He wants to try and take advantage as well, pushes Wimbish, tries to use the high side, as Wimbish tries to cut to the inside of Glenn, can't get to him, though. But Clement was able to take advantage of all that and get to that preferred line, but he's going to have to deal with someone just at even speed to him so far, and Tommy Haynes.
Yeah, Clements was at the way at the back of the pack about 40 to 50 laps ago. He has climbed his way back into 7th at the moment, looking for 6th on the outside of Tommy Haynes. I'm still saying if this race gets another caution, that 32 is my pick if the 33 can't get it done.
It's going to be absolutely interesting how this plays out. If they were to start splitting it up, we will start seeing that, I think, in about under 2 laps. We have under 22 laps to go. And the battle's still shaping up for position. Clement now able to move by Haynes officially on the board to 6th position. But look at Tyler Hallman. He wants a position all of a sudden. His number 52 machine with the Van Noy Construction Northern Capital Chevrolet. Trying to use that bottom, can't make it work. He's been trying that line, it seems, all night, but not able to get by some of this traffic, as you see Wimbish still trying to eat the back bumper of Glenn off.
We have just over 20 laps to go. That's about 10.5 minutes of racing remaining. If it goes green to the end, that's not a whole lot of time. So now I'm watching the 32 go to the inside of Wimbish on the back straightaway. He wants this spot, and he's going to go for it. Top 5 position. The 32 dives to the inside on turn 3.
Clement able to take advantage of one spot. Can he get 2 for 1 is the question as he nearly taps the 98 machine. Side by side they go for the 4th position. 20 laps to go this time by at the stripe. Clement still the fastest car last time by at the stripe. He lost a 10th that previous time. as he still can't get by the inside of Glenn. Well, here comes Wimbish now, all of a sudden up high, trying to help Glenn.
Intense battles going on for 4th place. The lead has died out for now. The 56 gets turned.
Able to save it, though.
Oh,
He's still
goodness.
bouncing around. Clement off the gas. They still keep it green. How about that for a save?
The intensity has come up, Justin, and with 20 laps to go, less than that now, I think everyone has pulled out all the stops. They're going for it, and they're not willing to back down at this point.
And it looked like an aggressive move maybe to try and get to the inside and follow Glenn on the bump trap. I think he just didn't realize Clement was about to hit the nose, bottled everyone up, but we stayed green. That lost them all a few tenths of a second, but no one got any damage from that.
That is lucky, but also very skilled by the 56. They managed to hang on to that, and the downforce helps for sure, but you still have to have the presence of mind to correct it without turning yourself into the fence.
On board with Darren Clement. On board, he dropped back to 7th. He'll want 6th back at least after the contact as he goes to the inside of Wimbish. We'll have some drafting help, though, because Tommy Haynes is now trying a different line that he's now single file. It looks like Haynes, compared to his competitors, is trying to paint that yellow line through 1 and 2, and 3, and try and use the seam on top of the first seam through 3 and 4, compared to many of the others who are using the high line above the first seam through both sets of corners.
So now I'm just kind of waiting to see what people are going to do with the strategy. I don't think we can go all the way to the end. There's no way we can go all the way to the end. So I'm just waiting to see what people do here. Will anyone try to stretch it? Maybe if you're, Gary May or Bobby Tinch, you haven't really had a say in this race yet. Maybe you want to try to just start coasting and just try to make it to the end. But of course, we don't know how much more they have to save. I have to imagine it's still quite a bit.
Clement on board, you seen, able to make the pass now for 6th spot on Wimbish with the slide job. And it looked like Clement nearly tank slapped his right rear fender off the wall, in fact, to try and hold on to the outside line that time by. But 16 to go. It's going to be nerve-wracking now strategy-wise. Again, the leader's away from the rest of the group now by over 3 seconds on the racetrack. Well, Tommy Haynes is able to break away with Jerry Glenn from the Hornet's Nest that's now built up for 7th on back because of all that build-up.
I'm just watching Dave Weishart's lap times, and he's been kind of
trading. Oh, battle for the race lead. David Weishart to the inside line, trying to move by Travis Pryor. He might have said that's enough of the draft because he's up to the race lead.
I was just about to say he might be planning to stick behind, but he proved me wrong pretty quick. The 33 goes to the lead.
And if that's the strategy for Weishart, in fact, maybe he said, you know what, I've reached enough fuel in the tank by using the draft. Maybe it's the thought process now for Pryor. He might not be able to make it if he tries to stretch it because he's been the lead car this entire run.
Well, they got teammates teamed up behind him now, so they have extra power in that category. But the 81 took a look, and now the 80 crosses them over. I think they're willing to race each other now with this few laps left.
To the inside goes Jay Pryor. Tries to use the inside. Can't launch off the corner, though. Looked like he got tight. Just couldn't exit the corner.
And Weishart, it took him the entire race, but he's still got just over 10 laps to go, and he's starting to stretch that lead out now. The question is, what's the fuel situation look like? Because he's wrestled that lead away. If he had enough fuel, he's good to go. I just don't know if he's got enough to go to the distance.
It took 137 laps for David Weishart to find his way to the front for the first time tonight. And he leads with 13 laps to go. Now it becomes the strategy of, can you make it or do you pit? It's going to be nerve-wracking once again here for the ExtremeMotorsports99.com's Cup Series, sponsored by Ricmotech here tonight.
17, Tommy Haynes going for 4th on Jerry Glenn. He's been trying to work him over the last couple laps, and here comes Darren Clement now from 6th to the outside lane of the 17. They continue to fight.
Yeah, they have been really dicing it up. Clement was actually the fastest car on the track last time by. This time by, he lost more speed as Travis Pryor took that responsibility on back. To the outside now once again goes Clement. This time, however, just able to get to that quarter panel that's been much needed to make a pass today.
Still haven't seen anyone make that move to pit road other than Nick Hunt, who just came in, looks like 8 laps ago. Everyone else, I think the freshest fuel tank anyone's got is 29 laps old, other than that 00. And we still have about 11 laps to go or so.
Very tight for the drivers right now. Still, the Pryors are near bumper to bumper now with Weishart up towards the front with 11 to go this time by the stripe. Travis Pryor nearly gave a bump draft on the exit of 3 and 4 last time. This time, he goes to the inside line. wanting to try and make the move. Can Pryor make the line stick? No, he can't. Gets tied. Both him and Weishart come up the racetrack, but Weishart able to launch off better.
And he comes over right in front of the 81 to block that move again, but you have to be careful if you're the 33. Got to leave them that inside space because they could wash up into you and end both of your days.
Should note Clement has got by for 4th position because Jerry Glenn, he's reached the tire cliff. He is dropping off like a rock with under 10 laps to go on the racetrack. So Clement now leads the second group that is now more than 3 seconds back once again. 3.73 seconds back of David Weishart of the racetrack. Leaders lined up for the top 3. Tommy Haynes now stuck to the bottom in 5th position.
Yeah, Jerry Glenn has a bunch of help from the 56 of Wimbish now as they make their way off into turn number 1 on the outside of Tommy Haynes. And they continue to kind of help each other out here. This 56 and 98, they've been around each other all evening.
Yeah, they've been near bumper to bumper. We've seen them nearly make contact a couple times. It got very dicey at some point. But now it looks like that outside line again preferred for Wimbish, it seems. Haynes still trying to paint the line off the corner exits to try and even it out. But again, that speed has been much more preferred up high. Travis Pryor, though, up to the front with 8 laps to go, are still nearly bump drafting Weishart. He's going to actually swap positions with Jay Pryor, who's got a run out of heck. He can't make the move inside of the race leader, but he's up to second.
I love this move. If the 81 can't do it, trade it over to the 80 and see if he can make a launch at it. But now the 80 drops to the inside. He's a lane lower than the 33 in turns 3 and 4. He's going to have a run out at the final corner. Can he get to the quarter panel and use the side draft?
Remember, Jay Pryor's been drafting off the both of these drivers and been one of the fastest cars of the night so far in said draft this run. He's inside for the race lead, side by side with Pryor with 7 laps to go. The question is, can Weishart use that high line still? Not this time. Pryor able to get back on the gas. They're still even now down the backstretch as Pryor clears by Weishart to take the race lead.
Caution!
Caution flag is out. It's in that group we were talking about for position. Wimbish has finally made contact with Glenn. He's also been hit from behind hard by Bobby Tinch.
And that changes everything.
Yes, that was that battle that was going on for it looked like an eternity, for at least 60, 70 laps. And I think it just hit the breaking point. If we look at the LSR TV replay, you'll see Glenn looked like was trying to protect the middle line, Kyle, and it looked like Wimbish just pushed up to his left rear.
Yeah, that's another instance of 2 drivers going for the exact same spot on the racetrack, and this late in the race, you just can't afford to give an inch. And right there, they couldn't afford to take an inch either, and they get together, and that's going to be the end of the night for the 56 of Wimbish. What a shame.
On top of that, that makes it very worse if you look at what happened with the 66 on top of it, because Bobby Tinch, he came in full throttle basically and ran into the back of one of those drivers as that caution flag came out.
Looks like we might have a split strategy here. Is the 17 car staying out?
Yes, he is. The pit strategy is underway in live action. Tommy Haynes is the only driver that hasn't ducked into the pit lane. Everyone else has come out. That came out as Jay Pryor again took the race lead, but the only driver staying out is Tommy Haynes on the racetrack.
So we talked about this earlier, Justin. You and I were chatting and saying, basically if it's a late race caution, if I'm Tommy Haynes, I love this strategy. I think he's just going to hope and pray that we just get a bunch of yellows now to keep himself out up front. But this is a really risky strategy because if we do go green, he is just a sitting duck.
And you know something else? Jay Pryor messed up his pit entry, missed his box sign by about a foot or two, and that lost him a ton of spots. He's dropped from 1st to 6th after that huge mistake in the lane.
And that's just got to be a dagger to the heart of the 80 team. I mean, he had the lead for a moment, and it's all taken away here at the end of this one. So he's still got an opportunity. It's not over till the checkered flag falls, and we still, at the moment, have 5 to go, and it's going to be, I don't know if it'll be a green-white-checkered setup just yet, but it's going to be awful close to being one. And Tommy Haynes leads this race, but Weishart can be the first one on fresh tires. He'll be restarting from the outside lane.
And on top of that, there were a bunch of people, it looks like, who risked it and took 2 tires all of a sudden. So Pryor not only would have lost time if he took 4, he lost time to Weishart, Travis Pryor, Tower Holman, Michael Moeller, who all had pit stops that were 11 seconds or less to try and mix up strategy. Also taking 2, it appears, was Randy Perdue among that caution.
Well, this, everything we thought was going to happen, we can just throw that out the window because I got a bunch of notes I just tore up. We're going to re-rack him and restack him, and it's only be a couple laps to the end of this one. Now, predictions here, Justin. I mean, is that 17 in a good spot, or did he just lock himself into a bad position?
With the green-white checkers, I think, potentially, because this would be a strategy that would make sense maybe if you're hoping for a caution off the restart before green-white checkers. With the green-white checkers on iRacing system, that may shake things up, of course. And on top of that, you got the people on 2 tires that it's going to be... You talked about the not a risk of tire spin. Problem is, you're talking about up to 30-lap difference between the right sides and the lefts for these cars.
Yeah, Tommy Haynes has 44 laps on his tires, and we've seen, the lap times drop off about 2 seconds over that period. So if we even get, a lap of full green flag, that's going to be enough for Weishart to just blow right around him. So that also, it's going to stack up the 81. Remember, you can't go 3 wide until the back straightaway, according to the rules of this series. So that locks the 81. He's going to be stuck behind the 17 until they get sorted out.
Yeah, I think this is going to be potentially absolute madness here. Who do you got for this one, depending on how things play out here as they still line up beyond the pace car? It looks like they might restart with maybe 3 laps to go. And yes, indeed, that's indeed the case as the lights go out. What do you expect here?
I'm taking a solid look at that 33 car. He's been so competitive lately and had only just lost the lead to the 80. But now the 81 of Travis Pryor, he's lined up behind a car that's not going to go anywhere. I'm thinking that 33 car gets into victory lane. But how about the 52 of Tyler Hallman? He's in the right spot at the right time. He'll be behind the line, I think, is going to go forward here on this restart.
The first car of 4 tires, though, is again Jay Pryor. He again ran his pit box, lost a few seconds, and this is going to be absolutely curious to see if he's got the advantage. He's also got the next driver, David Elliott. Have confirmed, of course, in this series, with the new green-white checkers being implemented part of the last build, there are green-white checkers in this series, so if there's a caution before 2 to go here, we're going to have overtime for the first time in the history of the Ricmotech Cup Series here tonight.
Do we have unlimited, or is it limited to 3?
Well, we've seen with many series with 3. Going to triple check on that one. But if we go past 3, I think that will be absolute madness and a half.
We'll
I don't
see how
even...
it plays out.
Yeah, we do have an instant limit of 13, so it's going to be the question if we get to that point, will there be any cars? Now here's the question. Who's going to come away with the checkered flag? Tommy Haynes, the control car, green flag's out. Tire spin galore on the outside line. The best race start comes for Travis Pryor along with the 17 of Tommy Haynes.
The 17 is all out in front right now, but he's going to be a sitting duck here as soon as the rest of the field gets up to speed. And the 81 of Travis Pryor's in the best spot.
Haynes pushes up the track, but Pryor, with his 2 tires, trying to hold off David Weishart. Moeller trying to block Elliott down the backstretch. Elliott, the first driver on 4 tires who makes contact. Going around his Moeller. He made contact with one of the Pryors. Caution flag comes out. We'll have a green-white checkered. But it looks like the race leader spun as we reached the caution, was able to save it.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, let's try this all over again. But now Weishart's going to be in the best spot here. And I don't even know what to think anymore here, Justin. This has all gone out the window.
A lot happened here on the OSR TV replay. It just looked like, again, 4 tires versus 2, and the contact, again, was between the first driver on 4 and David Elliott, who was trying to dive it inside on the first seam.
The 17 didn't go around all on his own. He had some help from the 81 of Travis Pryor off in turn 3, so that was an interesting moment there. I think the 17 was kind of off the pace with those older tires. The 81 got off into the corner and just gave him a launch, and the 17 managed to save it, but lost that track position.
Just confirmed it is technically unlimited. The limit is 14, but I don't know if we're going to use all 14. But we are seeing cars pit here with this green-white checkered. Haynes, to be expected, is the one who's coming out. In every single other driver appears to be staying out on the racetrack. Clement also coming in. He got some severe right side damage that might have damaged the engine block.
Oh man, I don't want to be on top of the pit box right now. I don't want to be in the cockpit right now. I'm just glad I'm up here in the booth because the strategy decisions you had to make in the late going here make my head spin, and now Weishart is going to have to hold off the 81. How about the 42 of David Elliott? He's in this fight now in third. Tyler Hallman, Jay Pryor, Michael Muller is in sixth. I think he's got some damage, though. But how about David Elliott, that 42? We haven't seen a whole lot out of him tonight. He's up inside the top 5. He might have a chance to go for the win.
Yeah, again, he was the first driver on 4 tires. He got by Jay Pryor, who also had 4 tires, mind you. And it was the one, again, who made that contact for the Primetime Motorsports Chevrolet. But there's a chance he might be able to steal this race win away, because Jay Pryor, from that caution flag, destroyed his entire front bumper.
Well, if I'm the 42, I'm smiling right now because I got four Mr. Feelgoods and set myself up for a great restart behind the 33. And now Weishart becomes a sitting duck here. So we're going to wait for those lights to go out of the pace car, re-rack them, restack them, and I guess we'll turn them loose one more time and see how it goes.
I'd hate to ask, but what are you expecting here? Because you still got guys on 2 tires leading them off. You got Elliott, the first driver, on 4. You got half the field, in fact, on 2 tires. The next driver on 4 behind the Pryor and Elliott, mind you, is Michael Moore. Man, I don't even know what to say. What are you expecting here?
Well, you ever put a bunch of rabid chipmunks in a bucket? I feel like that's what it's going to look like out here on the racetrack for the restart.
Wait, huh?
Rabid chipmunks in a bucket.
Wait, why'd you put rabid chickens in a bucket?
Well, it's the closest thing I can get to how this restart's going to look. I can tell you that.
I think that actually might be the perfect analogy for this. Okay, so either way, 19 drivers are on the lead lap, by the way, as we're seeing the first Green-white-checkered get all set up here on the racetrack on the iRacing Esports Network for the Ricmotech Cup Series. Once again, for the Extreme Motorsports 99.com's Cup Series tonight. More than 4,000 total drivers take part in series for Extreme Motorsports. And they were talking in the race meeting, engagement up to 15 to 18,000 people who keep up with the action across this league and its various series on a weekly basis. That's a lot of people and a lot of eyeballs. They felt the pressure again tonight, knowing this could be potentially one of the greatest seasons in their history. And now it's a chance for the drivers to prove they can come away with the checker flag for the first victory here on the iRacing Esports Network for the series.
And what an opening it's been. We've seen long green flag runs. We've seen quick yellows. We've seen strategy, fuel mileage, 4 tires, 2 tires, no tires. It all comes down to 2 more laps here. If we go green to the end, of course, got green-white checkers. And that 33 of Weishart is going to choose the inside lane with the 42 of David Elliott on 4 new tires right behind him. And, well, you asked about my predictions. Again, it's going to be like the inside of a coffee or, inside of a coffee can with coins in it. You're going to shake it up. Whatever one comes out on top, we're going to find out in about 3 miles here shortly.
Which coin do you think is going to come out the prettiest?
I'm still looking at that 42. I mean, he's got the best track position with the best set of tires on, so if he can get through the 33, and he might have to go through him, I think he goes to victory lane.
So here's how they shape out for the top 10 spots. David Weishart side by side with Travis Pryor on the front row. David Elliott, the first driver on 4 tires, will start alongside Tyler Hallman. Jay Pryor, the second car on 4 tires, has severe damage in 5th. Michael Moore 6th. Randy Perdue, Hunter McDaniel, Bryce Senezak, along with Joshua Gillen, round out the top 10 positions on the racetrack. They're already getting very close to one another before the pace car drops. Who will take it for the first Green-white-checkered of the 2019 season? Pace car is off the track. Weishart's off and away. The green flag's out, and we have a car in the fence. Caution flag going to come back out. It's a big one in the back of the field.
And just carnage everywhere. The 3 of John Sterling, the 81 of Travis Pryor. It's just all gone away here for the Pryors in the closing laps of this one. And we're going to re-rack him and restack him yet again with another Green-white-checkered.
And I believe that might have been Travis Pryor. Yes, indeed. That just had wheel spin for days. Shot straight to the right and into the fence there. Just, wow.
And David Elliott's got a big smile on his face because he's going to inherit second place, and he'll have clean racetrack in front of him, albeit on the outside lane. But that's really what the 42 needed, is clear racetrack, and he's going to have it here on the outside lane for the restart.
And now it's going to take a little bit to try and sort things out with the pace car. That's why everyone's slow on the racetrack. But as you've seen there, a couple drivers it looked like was maybe trying to start it off in first gear and then launch right to second. That's something that's been discussed by a couple drivers to try and be faster off the launches where they maybe hold in the clutch a bit, then get off that clutch and get right to second gear. It looks like one of the drivers tried that, and it might not have worked.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things you can do to try to get better restarts, but I think what we're seeing here is in the late race, the restarts, we've seen drivers kind of slow down a little bit, and that gives more torque to those rear wheels, and it's easier to spin them. So I think they're sitting in a pretty interesting spot with fresh tires. You'd think they'd have a lot of grip. We talked earlier that it's generally easier on this package than it has been in the past, but seems like they're struggling with it in the late going here.
And by the way, for those that just seen that, you can take a guess who that was. It was the 81 of Travis Pryor that was trying that. So it looked like a mix again of wheel spin and shifting into second gear at the time of the restart that brings out the caution flag. Lucky dog is Rob Haynes. He is still 3 laps down on the racetrack. Last time by, going to go down to potentially 2 here. But only 18 drivers are left on the lead lap at the time of this caution flag. Sterling Clement amongst the drivers in the garage area after that caution. That helps Elliott. He's now the outside car for this restart, Kyle.
Yeah, David Elliott, we talked about him, and Tyler Hallman. I know he's only on 2 tires, but if anything happens between the 33 and the 42, he'll be in the catbird seat, so don't count out that 52 car yet. There's a couple other cars that are 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th that might have an opportunity if things get messy up front, but I still think you got to be in those first 2 rows. It's going to be the 42 or the 52 for me. I'm not sure if the 33 can hang on, but he's certainly going to try, and he's going to make that car about 5 lanes wide to try to do it.
Yeah, this is going to be curious here. Again, it's the second green-white-checkered. It's technical unlimited, but there is technically a cap of 14. Not to jinx it, but I don't think we're going to need the 14 tonight, though. But it's going to be the curious question of who can take advantage here after the caution flag to reset things. They're still behind the pace car, still looking like they've reached the 2-to-go signal here. As most of the drivers 14th on back have come into pit, make it 13th on back. Everyone else has stayed out on the old tires. Mind you, Haynes is also on newer tires because he had dropped again like a rock. He's in 12th.
I'm just thinking about that 17 car. Had Tommy Haynes been able to hang on to the lead even for just a short while, he could still be up front here. I mean, really all he had to do was hang on for about a lap at a time, and if he could just make it 1 lap and get to that white flag, he could have been in victory lane. But, of course, that contact with the 81 sent him towards the rear, and he's since pitted and has got himself back up into 12th. But, again, I liked that call earlier when he stayed out. It just didn't quite work out, and, of course, the green-white-checkered's changing how that strategy played out.
Yes, indeed. Here at this point, now this gets to where it's kind of curious, at least to me at this point. What do you do if, say, you're the drivers that are towards the back half of the top 10 or on 4 tires, let's say, like Alan Fox? What do you do to, if you, say, have an air caution, precaution situation up here? What is going through your mind as a driver as we get ready for one to go?
Well, as a driver, I'm thinking in my head, the rule book, you can't go 3 wide until the back straightaway, but maybe the first race of the season, you're at the back of the field, you got 4 tires on it. Maybe you want to make them make that call. Maybe you want to try to go 3 wide. Maybe pick up a couple spots. Hopefully no one sees it. I mean, that might be worth trying here. If you're running 14th or 15th, that might be worth doing. So we'll keep an eye, but I think that's really the only way you're going to make up a ton of spots. The other thing, though, is you don't want to be part of the cautions that continue the green-white-checkered, so be careful if you do it.
We've added another lap for the pace laps, it appears here. So let's stay single file behind the pace car here, sponsored by iRacing on the racetrack. Again, stay tuned after tonight's coverage for this race for post-race coverage. We'll look at the Ford Entertainment Group full race results as well as talk to your top drivers on the grid tonight. It's going to be a question of which drivers are we going to get the chance to speak to, depending on how this top 3 shakes out. It's going to be wild, absolutely, at this point. And Rob Haynes, got to give a shout out though for Rob Haynes. He went as much as 7 laps down tonight in the number 29 Chevrolet, 29 Ford, I should rather say, the Ford Mustang for Downforce Motorsports. But he has stuck around, been able to gain some spots from attrition, and if he gets some more luck with a couple more cautions, might be able to get back on the lead lap for the first time since really the start of the race.
And that's just persistence for Rob Haynes, and that's why you stay in these races as long as he could have just left the racetrack and gotten out of the car and went home, but the 29 stayed in the race car. He's gotten back 5 laps. All he has to do is get 2 more, and he could potentially pick up some more positions. So I give him a ton of credit for staying in the fight, and hopefully for his sake, hopefully he gets a couple more yellows to climb up the grid some more. As the pace car lights extinguish, we'll double them up and try again.
David Weishart from Samson Motorsports will start on the inside. The Northern Capital machine will have a teammate behind him in third position, we should note, and Tyler Hallman, another one of the Samson Motorsports Chevrolets. Bobby Tinch involved in incidents for their team so far. The man on the outside line, however, is for Primetime Motorsports. He'll have to work with Jay Pryor, who is still in the fourth position, and despite severe damage, does have those 4 tires on his race car. Michael Moore, also with some damage, has 4 tires in 5th position. Hunter McDaniels recovered from an incident down the backstretch, and a couple others as well to get to 6th. Randy Perdue, Bryce Senezak, Adam Eisenhower, along with a couple, it rounds out the top 10, I should say, along with the 9th position, I should say, of Alan Fox. So that rounds out your top 10. Right now, there are drivers as far back as 18th. If they get some luck, that could win it. The pace car lines up out of turn number 4. The fans are on their feet here in Kentucky. Weishart holds them up towards the restart zone as the green flag waves. We're back on our way. No tire spin this time.
The restart so important for David Elliott. He's got to get that lead away from the 33 before a potential caution flies again, and he's trying to get to the outside lane, but of course slipped back a little bit on that initial start as Weishart pulls away. He's got to hang on to 52 with Tyler Hallman. He's on 2 tires trying to get back to the 33.
Hallman trying to block 2 drivers on 4 tires now, heading into turn 3. Diving into the inside goes Jay Pryor. To the outside line goes David Elliott. Side by side for the 3rd position. Pryor nearly hit the apron. White flag out on the racetrack. Lap 160. The next flag ends the race. Weishart up in the front by 4 car lengths.
All Weishart has to do is get around the next 1.5 miles without incident. He's leading the 42 David Elliott by 0.3 of a second, but the 42 is closing quickly on the back straight.
Weishart still holds on though. Elliott trying to find any chance he can to gain time. But David Weishart, it took him until lap 137 to get to the race lead. But with the Green-white-checkers, will take his first win in 2019 for the Ricmotech Cup Series. He wins it at Kentucky.
Incredible job by David Weishart to hang on to that. David Elliott wasn't able to get back, but some intense battling. The margin between, looks like 3rd and 4th was 32 thousandths of a second on my timing and scoring, so awful close there. But for Weishart, a job well done and a great restart to hang on to that.
And that was some hard pushing. He was about a 10th slower, yes, each lap after just taking 2 tires. But David Weishart wins the Ricmotech Cup Series season debut here in Kentucky. And it took an extra 10-plus laps. But he's going to be a happy driver tonight in the Northern Capital-sponsored Chevrolet in that 33.
He's certainly going to enjoy burning it down here as he slides across the start-finish line. That Northern Capital Camaro burning it down at the start-finish line, and a job well done, well earned. He had to hang on to a bunch of hungry hippos there at the closing laps and managed to hang on for that victory.
We'll take a quick break here on the iRacing Esports Network and LSR TV as David Weishart burns it on down and continues to try and impress the fans here. As an impressive run, we should again note, with David Elliott, Jay Pryor amongst the drivers in the top 3. Got to give a quick shout out on top of that too to guys like Randy Perdue and Gary Maid that started towards the back in the 20s. They rounded off the top 10 here, Kyle.
And how about Alan Fox coming back for a 7th place finish after the horrible mid-race that he had, was able to claw his way back inside the top 10. The 73 slipped back early, got himself a solid top 10. It's a great way to start the season. And that's how you end up winning championships, is you make your bad days a little bit less bad.
And now we'll send it off to your commercial break. We'll be right back after this with your full race result and your post-race interviews here on the iRacing Esports Network and LSR TV. You're watching the Ricmotech Cup Series with the Extreme Motorsports 99.com's top drivers. We'll be right back after this.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Welcome back to iRacing Esports Networks and the LSR TV's coverage of the Ricmotech Cup Series, as it took 2 green-white-checkers. But for David Weishart, he got the chance to celebrate for the first time in 2019 in Season 9. Here for this series to win here in Kentucky, Justin Prince, Kyle Hayer, and Brett Wheeler back with you here on iRacing Esports Network. Let's run down your full race results, sponsored by the Ford Entertainment Group. David Weishart came away with the checker flag after taking 2 tires and pulling away with a man on 4 from David Elliott. David Elliott finished under 3/10 back for the checker flag. Jay Pryor was amongst one of the most dominant drivers of the day, but he couldn't make his way up to the front after securing damage and taking 4 tires and overrunning his pit box on the crucial final pit stop of the race. Tyler Holman and Hunter McDaniel rounded out the top 5, while Michael Moeller finished off in 6th. Alan Fox was the pole sitter and led for some laps, but dropped like a rock at the end of the first run and didn't look back. He recovered to a 7th place finish, however, at the checker flag. Tommy Haynes also recovered to 8th place after staying out on 4 old tires. For the first green-white-checkered, Randy Perdue and Gary May rounded out your top 10.
In 11th place, Joshua Gillen came home in that 11th place with the number 40 car after spinning down pit road early. He recovered for a top 15 finish. Bryce Senesac in the number 09 finished 12th. Adam Eisenhower in the 86 had some trouble tonight, but ended up finishing 13th after climbing back up the order. Darren Clement in the number 32 finished 14th after having the speed to win, just wasn't able to get it done tonight. Jerry Glenn in the 98, he had trouble late in the going, finished 15th in the number 98. John Sterling in the number 3 finished 16th. Bobby Tinch in the 66 got together earlier in the evening, but finished 17th overall. Travis Pryor in the 81 led a bunch of laps earlier in the race, but wasn't able to get it done after a late race incident, finished 18th. Rob Haynes in 19th place in the number 29, 2 laps down. He was as much as 7 laps down earlier, but stuck through and got himself a top 20. Ed Morris was competitive early, but couldn't quite hang on to get himself a top 10, ended up 20th at the end of the night in that number 7 machine.
That brings it to the drivers that had some big-time struggles and couldn't make it to the checker flag with the green-white-checkers. Davey Hendricks amongst the drivers that didn't finish in 21st, 12 laps down. John T. Wimbish finished 16 laps down. That was after the contact with Jerry Glenn, while Nick Hunt tried to run on the bottom side, went in and out of the pits multiple times, but only finished 129 circuits, while Mike Franklin finished off the day as a DNF. He finished off his day after 100-plus laps after his crash, dead last for the start of the 2019/Season 9 season. But now, that's been your full race results, sponsored by Ford Entertainment Group. FEGPC has been serving the iRacing community with custom-built, affordable computers, specifically built and tuned for iRacing. Your PC will come with everything you need preloaded so you can get iRacing as soon as it hits your doorstep. Get yours today and join the 600-plus iRacers already enjoying an FEGPC. PCs to fit every budget are available from $540 on up. Visit FEGPC.net and mention the code LSRTV10 and get your build quoted today. Let's get some words and some quotes for your race winner. Taking the checker flag to start off Season 9, it's David Weishart from Sampson Motorsports. David, an interesting race to say the least. How does it feel to win to start off Season 9?
Man, it feels great. I went in my first Cup race. Couldn't ask for anything more. It was such a great race. You had fuel strategy coming into it, and we had that long green flag run to start. It's just, man, what a great race this was.
Yeah, it looked very difficult to say the very least. You were battling with the priors. And then you have the green-white-checkered that's mixed into everything as well. Talk us through that fight to try and get to the race lead that took 137 laps to claw away.
Man, it was a really good battle with them two. That was a lot of fun. We were all pretty equal speed, and I feel like on the long runs I was better than the 80, but me and the 81 were pretty equal there. And then at the end we were all just saving gas, and I think the 81 let me by so he could get the draft, and then it was just we were all swapping positions there at the end. But it was a battle getting to the lead. It was a lot of fun though.
It definitely looked like a lot of fun with the battling, but on top of that, how difficult was it to try and manage that strategy? Because as you mentioned, a lot of drivers were lower on fuel, just 75% fuel cap. That's about 14 gallons in the cars, give or take. How difficult was it to try and manage that to make sure you got to the end of this race before that green-white-checkered, of course, came out?
It was actually really difficult. Saving fuel is not my strong suit. And I thought at the beginning after the caution, I thought we were good to go. And I realized about halfway through the run, I was not going to be good to go. And so I started clutching it in the corners, and I was right on the number. Like with 10 to go, I crossed the line, and I had 10 laps of gas left. So it was going to be close. And then the green-white-checkers, I knew we could make it after we pitted, obviously. And I knew pitting was going to be the right call, so luckily I was able to get out there. I didn't have the lead because the 17 stayed out, but he made a little bit of a mistake, and I got around him, and it was pretty smooth sailing from there, honestly.
Now, of course, this is just the first race of 10 in the regular season, and then the season shifts its things over. This next race on the schedule, looking at things, goes to Las Vegas, if I'm looking at this right. Yes, on June the 20th. Let's talk about Las Vegas. 148 laps, a very crazy track with this package potentially. What are you expecting once we go off to the Sin City?
I honestly don't know what to expect. If the track temperatures are up, it could be a loose setup, kind of like Michigan was a couple weeks ago. It could really throw everybody for a curve, but I expect a lot of pack-style racing. I expect a lot of big runs coming off the corners with the progressive banking, and it should be a lot of fun. It would keep everybody on your toes, white-knuckling. So that's what I'm expecting, and I think that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a good one.
Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank or anything you want to add before we say goodbye to you from Victory Circle?
I want to thank my teammates from Sampson Motorsports, Bobby and Tyler. We work real close together, putting a lot of practice, so got to thank them. Got to thank Ricmotech for coming on and sponsoring the Cup Series this season. I know that's a pretty big deal. It's a big-time sponsor, and we're happy to have them. Thanks to you all for broadcasting, and thanks to everybody that's watching and that supports the league. It means a lot.
Thank you very much for the time, and I think you got a puppy in the backdrop that is really happy to celebrate with you as well, David. Congratulations.
Yeah, he is, man. Thanks. I'll hopefully talk to y'all next week.
And that was David Weishart that came away with the checker flag to start off season number 9. The man who came away in second on 4 tires. It's standing by with Kyle Hare. It's David Elliott. Kyle?
Well, welcome, David Elliott, to the podium here. Second place in the number 42 after starting in 10th. 4 tires on that last stop, and you had to work your way through a bunch of hornet's nests, and those closing laps just came up 0.2 of a second short. Walk us through those final restarts in those green-white-checkers.
Yeah, disappointing. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda won the race, but that's all right. Just got a little behind on the start. 33, he got a good start there, and I didn't think he was going to get that good of a start on 2 older tires, but that's all right. We'll gather it up and try to go get him next week.
Throughout the night, we saw multiple lines kind of in play from the bottom of the racetrack to the middle to the high side. Where did you feel like your car was fastest, and did you feel like you needed to be lined up in a different lane for that final restart?
Yeah, if I could have been on the bottom, I think I would have been all right. That's where I was the fastest from the bottom to the middle. The top groove was just junk until the end of the run, but that's all right. We'll try to go get them next week.
And looking back at that pit stop, the 4 tires versus 2 versus no tires, was there any what played into that decision to take 4 versus 2 or 0?
I figured taking 4 and being the top 5 or 6 there would be the way to go, because I figured there's going to be a few crashes, but I'm just not that great on 2 tires versus 4.
And with the green-white checkers kind of throwing a hat in the ring, does that change how you approach restarts? Does that increase the urgency a little bit, or does it let you kind of calm down and know that if there's a wreck, you'll have another opportunity at it?
Kind of gives you another opportunity, kind of calms you down a little bit, knowing that as long as you don't take the white flag, you got another shot. But I like to thank Extreme Motorsports and Primetime Motorsports, all the guys did great. We had some good runs tonight. Could have, should have won, though.
All right, the 42 of David Elliott comes up a little bit short, second in this first race of the season. Thanks, David. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.
That was David Elliott, who came away in second tonight. But the man that might feel the most heartbreaker, the Pryors, Jay Pryor, is joining us in the broadcast booth. He came away third tonight. Jay, what happened from your perspective? Because you guys were up towards the front, then the green-white-checkers happened.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Weishart and Elliott on their 1-2 finish. They deserve it. Good strategy. But I feel like Travis and I, we controlled most of the race. We came to this race with good long green flag cars. And, just the strategy just changed all through the night. And on that last long green flag run that we had, I learned being out in front that you're using more fuel, more tire. So I hung back there in third, and then I ran them back down, and I had enough fuel to make it, and I'm not sure that Weishart did, but I know Travis didn't. And right as I took the lead around 5 laps ago, here comes the caution. The cautions killed me tonight.
It also looked like, yes, indeed, you're one of the drivers that took 4 tires. You also seem to have an issue getting into your pit box, it seemed, on the last stop, losing about 7 seconds there. Why the decision to go 4 compared to the 2 that a majority of the drivers that finished around you and the race winner ended up taking?
I just rode the dice right there. I just figured I'd get up on that wheel and see what we could do on that green-white-checkered. And I just don't think 2 tires was the way to go there. And on that last lap, I think I could have made a run at them, but things got real racy, and I got myself in the 3 wide spot, and I thought it was best just to take my 3rd place. And we got 9 more of these things to go until the chase.
Absolutely. The next race, of course, Las Vegas on the schedule. You, of course, earned a lot of points, but there's only 10 races in the regular season next Las Vegas. What are you and Travis planning? How are you and Travis planning to prepare for that race?
Now, the same way we did with this one, just put a lot of laps in, learn these tires, these cup cars. I'm new in these cup cars, and they're a different beast of them Xfinity cars we've been running. So just clock some laps in and hopefully get some caution-free races so we can make them long-run cars work for us.
Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank?
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank Pat T, iPaints, for helping us out. And our sponsor come on board this year, HostaleGrips.com. Look them up on your online gaming needs. Use promo code iRacing to receive 20% off. And Rick and the admins here, y'all done an absolute amazing job of putting all these series together this year in Extreme Motorsports. And we're real excited to have LSR TV on board.
Thank you very much for the time, and I think your fan base definitely enjoyed the race tonight for you and Travis, as much as 20, 30 people at least watching and a group viewing party cheering you on tonight along with Travis. Congratulations to win the top 3.
All right, thank you so much. See you next week.
That was Jay Pryor. He came away in 3rd tonight to round out our top 3 positions. Kyle, 105 laps were led, to be exact, by the Pryors, but it was David Weishart who came away with the checker flag. Your final thoughts before we say goodbye tonight?
What a way to start the season. I mean, we saw the Priors dominate the majority of the race, but once the caution started flying late in the race, we really didn't know what to expect. We saw Weishart, Elliott, Hallman, McDaniel, they all threw their hat in the ring here late. We saw comers and goers, Alan Fox dropping all the way to the rear of the field, coming back for a top 10. We saw multiple lanes. We saw green-white-checkers, a little bit of everything tonight from Kentucky Speedway, and I think going next week to Las Vegas, well, you're going to have to roll the dice and maybe put your bets on the Priors again next week. As it's about as different of a 1.5 mile racetrack as you could get to Las Vegas, but I think there are still lessons to be learned as we head into next week.
Absolutely. There are still 9 races left to try and gain points to make the top 12 to move on to the postseason for Season 9. The question is, which drivers are willing to gamble once we go to Las Vegas? That again is next week on June the 20th. Start time estimated about 9 p.m. Eastern for the Green Flag. Coverage will start about 8:55-ish p.m. on the iRacing Esports Network. Once again, it's time to say goodbye, though. For Kyle Hayer, I'm Justin Prince, and for Brett Wheeler, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week in the Sin City.